Digimon Digital Monsters. Created originally as a boy's version of a Tamagotchi pet, Digimon eventually received a video game adaptation on the PS1, and that same year they released an anime short film followed by a series titled Digimon Adventure. It was everywhere after that, often compared to Pokemon because they both ended Mon, so they're the same obviously. Unlike Pokemon, Digimon has had a bumpy ride over the last 25 years. Now, I'm not a super Digimon fan, like if the new Digijoint got released, I'm not lining up to get one. Until Digimon Survive's release, which I'm very excited for. Come watch me play it on Twitch, wink wink. Anyway, with its release, I decided to watch all of Digimon. I actually haven't seen a lot of Digimon, I stopped around Frontier and have not checked back since. Hell, most of these shows I haven't even seen in full because before streaming on the internet, you can only watch the episodes when they air and hope it's an episode you haven't seen before. I also have not seen many of the movies and OVAs. No reason really, I just never found it necessary to watch them. So a lot of this, especially in the latter half, will be brand new to me. Be aware, I am incredibly biased. I do not care about looking at things fairly. I'm a casual fan. I like what I like and I hate what I hate. Deal with it. Now you may not like that method, and if you don't, be sure to leave a comment telling me how much I suck, and then while you're down there, also leave a dislike. That still helps the video somehow. Your hatred only makes me stronger. Also, where applicable, I will be watching the English dub version of The Thing. Yes, Butterfly is the greatest song of all time, there's censorship, they changed something, blah blah blah. I grew up with the dubs, that's what I'm watching. If I do get information wrong, leave a comment correcting me. Finally, remember Digimon is an anime owned by a Japanese company. I will obviously be using clips so you understand what I'm talking about, but from my past videos, I know those Japanese companies don't like me doing that. Just letting you know now, there will be long sections of me just looking this way, reading from my script. I don't know, I'll maybe put something interesting on the screen for you, I guess. Okay, this intro's long enough and I got a lot of Digimon to watch, so let's start with the original Digimon Adventure TV series. Our story begins with strange weather patterns all over the world. While this is happening, 7 kids are unaware of these events because they are spending time at summer camp. These kids are Tai, the gogglehead that started it all, Matt, the cool loner, Sora, the selfless tomboy, Izzy, the computer-carrying whiz kid, Joe, the oldest and most anxiety, TK, Matt's younger brother, and the youngest overall, and Mimi, the Valley Girl stereotype and the best character in all of Digimon. One day at camp, a freak snowstorm arrives and the 7 of them get stuck in a cabin in the mountains. After the storm, strange meteors shoot near them that turn into strange devices later to be known as Digivices. And immediately after that, a tsunami washes them all away and Tai wakes up in the digital world. After regrouping, all the kids realize these strange creatures have attached themselves to each of them, calling them partners, and they introduce themselves as Digimon, you know. Then they are all attacked by a giant beetle Digimon called Kuwagamon. Digimon try to fight it, and in the middle of their fight, the Digivices begin to glow, and all the Digimon digivolve into their rookie forms, a more powerful version. For those that don't know, there are several stages of Digimon. Each series might add some extra version and form for toys, but the standard forms to keep aware of for this video, there's In Training, which are the forms the Digimon start in, Rookie forms, which are the standard forms you will see most series partner Digimon in, then there's Champion, Ultimate, and finally Mega. Digivolving is mostly a mechanic that will be used to show the development of the human partner. As they grow, the Digimon will gain a new form. It's a physical manifestation of the character's growth. These Digimon are Agumon for Tai, Gabumon for Matt, Biomon for Sora, Tentomon for Izzy, Gomamon for Joe, Palmon for Mimi, and Patamon for TK. After beating Kuwagamon and falling off a cliff, the kids decide to wander around and find help since they don't know where they are, despite Joe's pleas to stay put and wait for help. Now, this is where I'm going to have to take some liberties after the first couple episodes for every show. Digimon is essentially a Monster of the Week show, so not every single episode is relevant no matter what's in it. So if I skip over something that you might think be worth mentioning, I don't care. The episodes usually go a kid goes through some sort of ordeal, like Matt having to save TK from a Seadramon, or Joe trying to be reliable and climb a dangerous mountain to get a layout of where they are. Through this ordeal, their partner Digimon achieves the next level of Digivolution. All except TK's Patamon. Some stuff is revealed, like Matt being very overprotective of TK, Izzy apparently heard his parents talk about some secret involving him some time ago, and Mimi being awesome. After fighting all these evil Digimon, the kids start noticing a strange black gear that keeps popping out of them whenever they're defeated. After climbing the mountain I mentioned earlier, the kids learn they are on an island and wonder if they can even get off the island. They then find a mansion that they decide to stay in, however it is actually a trap set by the evil Devimon, who not only separates the kids, but also brainwashes a champion level Digimon, Leomon, and sends him after the kids along with his not brainwashed henchman, Ogremon. And these episodes where the kids are separated are great. Tai and Matt meet up and fight, this is a staple of the series, but come to an understanding when Tai sees how worried Matt is for TK. However, the best parts are the other guys. Izzy and Mimi wind up together and it is hilarious.
Oh, don't cry, Mimi. Oh no, not you too. Izzy, do something.
Do what? My laptop can't do everything.
And Joe and Sora, I didn't think these two would mesh, but they play off each other so well.
Okay, don't panic. I'm still in control and feeling strong.
Okay.
I don't want to be somebody's appetizer. I'm supposed to go to med school.
Oh, and TK is babysitting or whatever. Eventually the group reunites and manages to release Leomon from Devimon's control. He then tells them they are Digi-destined, kids, destined to save the island, now known as Vile Island, from a dark force. Izzy believes that once they do this, their job will be done and they'll be able to go home. The group fights Devimon and get destroyed, but to save the day, Patamon finally digivolves into Angemon, and uses the last of his energy to destroy Devimon, and he dies. Just kidding, Digimon don't actually die, they get reborn as a Digi-Egg. See, you'll be fine, TK. I'm sure that brief moment you thought your new friend died didn't traumatize you for life. After the fight, the kids realize they're not home, when an old man named Genai contacts them. By the way, before this video, I had no idea this guy's name was pronounced Genai. I always thought it was Jedi, like the Star Wars Jedi. I'm saying these guys need to enunciate more. Genai tells them about the crests and tags. By finding their crests, they will get their Digimon to digivolve to Ultimate and will need this power to defeat the true evil threatening the digital world. Each kid has a crest linked to a certain trait. Tai has the crest of courage, Matt has friendship, Sora love, Izzy knowledge, Joe reliability, Mimi sincerity, and TK has hope. They leave Vile Island and begin exploring other areas of the digital world to find their crests. However, a dark force is already after them. Edamon. Edamon is one of the main reasons we watch dubs around here. That's because Edamon talks like Elvis.
I am the king here. They gotta learn the hard way what you already know. They can't be messing with the royal one. I expect my plans to be followed.
I don't know why, and I don't care. He's entertaining. Just the fact that the singing and dancing Elvis monkey is actually a threat, having power and can track the kids with his dark network, I love villains like this. You can laugh at them, but they're still a threat. Makes it more interesting than just being evil like Devimon. The next couple episodes have the kids going around the digital world and fighting the crests. The interesting one is when Tai gets his and tries to force Agumon to digivolve. The kids have realized by now that Digimon digivolve to protect them, so Tai throws himself into harm's way on purpose, and after that Agumon dark digivolves into an evil Digimon, Skull Greymon. They manage to return to normal, but now both Tai and Agumon become scared to digivolve again, out of fear of Agumon turning into Skull Greymon. They get over it after an episode. Eventually, the only kid who doesn't have their crest is Sora, and they are contacted by Datamon, a Digimon held prisoner by Edamon in a pyramid. Datamon tells them if he frees them, he will show them where Sora's crest is. During this, the kids come to the conclusion that they are not in their physical bodies and that they are digital constructs, but if anything were to happen to them in the digital world, the same would happen to their bodies. Yes, you die in the game, you die for real. Tai doesn't hear that last part and starts acting with reckless abandon, thinking nothing actually bad will happen, but is given a wake-up call by the kids as he realizes how real the danger is. After getting to Datamon, he betrays the kids and kidnaps Sora so he can clone her so he can control Biyomon so he can get revenge on Edamon. It's a needlessly complicated plan. To get Sora back, Tai has to overcome his fears for now, realizing the danger is real. He has to have courage? He manages to save her, but Datamon fuses Edamon, him, and all the Dark Network into that. And Tai, having overcome his fears, activates his crest, and Greymon evolves into Metal Greymon. Sora also got her crest during this. They defeat Edamon, but Tai and Metal Greymon are shot through a portal and end up back in Tokyo, in the real world. This is another reason Digimon stood out here in the West. Most American English dubs get rid of all instances of Japanese culture, language, places, names. Digimon, though, keeps some of that Japanese culture.
Huh? It's written in Digicode.
Well, I said some. Tai and a de-digivolved Koromon go to Tai's house where they meet his creepy sister Kari. What's even weirder, though, is that Kari knows who Koromon is. Tai also discovers that despite being gone for days in the digital world, it's still the same day he left for camp. Eventually, Tai does have to return to the digital world to save his friends, realizing something is wrong when an Ogremon somehow finds itself in the real world. He leaves Kari behind, but he promises he will be back. Tai returns and finds Tokamon, TK's partner, and he tells them despite Tai being gone barely a day in the real world, weeks have passed in the digital world, and the group all went off on their own to find Tai and Agumon. The next episodes involve Tai getting the band back together. During this, Matt, Izzy, and Sora all unlock the powers of their crests, getting ultimate evolutions. Also, a new character, Devimon, is seen messing with the kids, working for Myotismon, the new threat to the digital world. After regrouping, Genai tells the kids there is an 8th Digidestined, and Myotismon is planning to go to the real world to find them. After infiltrating his castle, the kids are stopped by Myotismon's other lackey, Gatomon, and are unable to prevent him from going to the real world. The kids do manage to follow after him and arrive in the real world. Heightened View Terrace, Tokyo, remember I said some. After arriving, all the kids realize they all saw a Greymon fight a Digimon called Parrotmon years ago in this town, and they conclude that witnessing this event made them Digidestined. So naturally, the 8th child must have also seen this too. Who could it be? So now it's a race to see who can find the 8th child first, the Digidestined or Myotismon's minions, Gatomon and Wizardmon. A few things I want to mention for this part. First, I love how the Digimon disguise themselves by just wearing hats and hoodies, and it works. Digimon operates on Ninja Turtles logic. Also, we learned that Izzy heard his parents say from a while ago that he's adopted, and they never told him for some reason. Also, that Matt and TK's parents are divorced and they never see each other because Matt lives with their dad and TK lives with their mom. Myotismon gives Gatomon a copy of the 8th crest, the Crest of Light, saying it will shine when the 8th child is near. Gatomon manages to find out it's Kari, big shock, but finds herself unable to kill her for some reason. After confiding in Wizardmon about it, he thinks that this means Gatomon is Kari's partner Digimon, and after Kari gets her Digivice, it turns out to be true as Gatomon remembers being separated from the other partner Digimon and was found by Myotismon. After trying to get Kari's real crest from Myotismon, Gatomon is captured and Wizardmon gets his ass beat. Myotismon surrounds the town in fog and releases a bunch of Digimon to gather up all the people of Heightened View Terrace, so Gatomon can identify the 8th child so he can kill them. Now, this part, the Myotismon arc, is the best part in all of Digimon Adventure in my opinion. Specifically this part where he gathers up everyone at Heightened View Terrace. Because now the kids' families are a part of the story, as each of them try to protect them, like Sora and her mother, Mimi trying to protect her parents, which activates her crest. Izzy comes to terms with his parents about his adoption, and of course everyone trying to protect Tai's sister, Kari. During all this, Joe awakens his crest as well, and him and TK find Wizardmon, who has gotten Kari's crest. The kids manage to gather together, but Myotismon has already found Kari. Wizardmon manages to get Kari's crest to her, but unfortunately, is killed. I'm not too sure on my Digimon lore, but since he died in the real world, he doesn't get reborn as a Digi-Egg. I think, RIP bro. His death though has Kari's crest react and Gatomon digivolves into Angel Woman, a true angel helping us all through puberty. Angel Woman defeats Myotismon, but the fog surrounding the town doesn't disappear, and Genai contacts Izzy telling them, oh, that wasn't the real threat, and he tells him a prophecy that makes a little sense to me. I'm not going to repeat it. But Myotismon comes back as Venom Myotismon and begins destroying the city. Izzy, after analyzing the prophecy, concludes that the Angel Digimon have to shoot arrows of hope and light at Tai and Matt in order to unlock their full power. Tai and Matt agree to do this as they have little options left and they trust each other and their siblings. This works and the arrows unlock Agumon and Gabumon's mega forms, War Greymon and Metal Garurumon. They defeat Myotismon and peace is finally restored. To nowhere, cause now the digital world and real world are colliding. Cause that wasn't the real threat. They leave their families behind on a new adventure.
It's weird. I'm not sure if we'll ever see them again, but I'm not afraid. It's like just knowing that they love us gives us the power that we need.
I love that line. The Myotismon arc is peak Digimon Adventure for me. It builds off of things that are shown throughout the show, giving closure to a lot of the kids on their personal issues that have been developed over the long period of time. And also the big battle at the end feels very satisfying with Tai and Matt getting that last one big power up to save the day. It's perfect. But we still got 14 episodes left. Yeah, not every single little detail was wrapped up with a bow, but I feel it ended on a fine note with the stakes raised to the perfect level. But we got 14 more episodes known as the Dark Master Saga. While the kids were in the real world, new villains called the Dark Masters have taken over the digital one. Metal Seedramon, Machine Dramon, that's not confusing, Puppetmon, and Piedmon. These guys are lame. Dark Masters have fucked with the digital world so much, all of the areas have combined to become one place called Spiral Mountain. Also, Digimon no longer get reborn when they die. They patched that out in 1.6. Which does actually get kind of fucked. Like, at one point, Mimi starts making graves for all their friends that died. And Tai gives some speech like, "This is war, there will be casualties." Like, what the fuck? You're like 10, dude. Yeah, the story from here on out is just the kids fighting each master over some episodes. They're just not interesting to me. Mostly because all the kids have gone through an arc already and there's not much you can do with them. Like, Matt gets tricked into fighting Tai because Matt's all sad because he thinks TK doesn't need him anymore, and Matt and Tai argue and fight, and I cannot buy this because, like, a couple hours ago, these two trusted and believed in each other and their families so much that they were willing to risk and get shot by arrows based on some unintelligible prophecy. I just don't buy it. It feels forced because we gotta have that story beat of the characters getting separated and fighting over some disagreement. I think this happened too late. If this was before the Myotismon arc, I'd be more for it, but it just doesn't feel right to me. During that fight though, Kari is possessed by a mysterious being who explains the origins of why they were chosen as Digidestined. After seeing Greymon fight Parrotmon, all the kids were scanned and the Digimon and their Digivices were created for them. The crests were created based on the strongest quality each child possessed. So, Kari possesses light? However, Piedmon showed up trying to prevent this from happening, and Genai, who was there, runs away with the eggs and Digivices, losing Gatumon's egg while escaping. Also, apparently, there were these Digidestined before the kids we were following now, who fought the Dark Masters, the original Digidestined as they're called. I wasn't going to mention them at all, but I had to come back and rewrite this because they're gonna matter toward the end of this video, you'll see. But yeah, this arc really is just the kids going around fighting the Dark Masters, so here's just like all the stuff I thought was interesting when it was happening. Let's see, you got Edamon, he comes back for an episode, that's pretty cool. We have our first Leomon death. Hell yeah. That's right, kids, this is a meme in the Digimon community. Whenever Leomon shows up in a series, play at home with your friends and see how long it takes until he dies. Trust me, it's fun. What else? Kari is basically Digimon Jesus. Tai has kid trauma, Angemon digivolves, Mimi makes an army, Lady Devimon is a thing, that's cool. Eventually the kids beat all the Dark Masters, except Piedmon. But then they do that. But I'm not kidding, with 2 episodes left, it's revealed the Dark Masters are not the real threat. The real threat, for reals, is a being existing beyond the Wall of Fire. Great name for that, by the way. AppliMonsters, not as great a name. He sends the kids to Purgatory, but the group escapes thanks to friendship, and they destroy him. The power of friendship, saving the day! Well, we beat the bad guy, but we only got 5 minutes left in the last episode, so time for a hasty wrap-up. As the portal between the digital and human world closes, the kids say a tearful goodbye to their Digimon, and the kids return to the real world, knowing they'll see their friends again someday.
Our adventure in the digital world might be over for now, but that gate won't stay closed forever. I have a feeling that this won't be the last time we see our pals, the Digimon.
I know I skipped a lot there, but I really don't like the Dark Master saga, man. After rewatching Digimon Adventure, it is still one of my favorite anime, and despite its problems, I will watch this any day of the week. The Digimon theme is a classic by this point. I always love the start of the theme the most. I don't know how to describe it, but the digital techno noise with the digis being repeated sounds so strange, like the theme itself is transporting you into this strange world. One of the biggest contentions with early Digimon is the dub, more specifically the writing of it. Every time they get a chance, they will throw in some joke or pun, cause I guess they thought kids would get bored otherwise. Like whenever a character's mouth is off screen, they just have the voice actors go nuts. Even during serious moments like that moment near the finale when they're in Purgatory, they make jokes. Though honestly, I don't hate it, I think it's a big part of Digimon's charm. I think the cheesiness and campiness is part of Adventure's identity, and it's not like they ruin every serious moment, they know when to dial it down. I can understand why people don't like it. Personally, I love it, keeps things from getting too serious. Something I do think ruins the mood is during the fight scenes they play this song. And yeah, this thing, it totally brings down the action scenes. It doesn't fit at all. It's completely weird and out of place. But my nostalgia goggles are on tight, so I love it. The rest of the music in typical dub fashion is just an instrumental rendition on remixes of the theme song. The animation is standard for a Monster of the Week show. By that I mean tons of reused animation, like when the Digimon digivolve and when they do their signature attacks. It's passable for the time. I think this show handles filler well. Now let it be known here, I think anime fans have some unnatural hatred toward filler episodes. Yeah, it's annoying that you're watching something that doesn't contribute to the story, but look man, if you're a fan of Naruto and Bleach like me, you can't complain about filler. I think filler is fine as long as it does two things. Either it's just plain entertaining, like it's funny or action-packed, or it's disguised properly, like events in the episode may not come back up again for the main plot, but it gives some sense of progress and story building, like adding more insight into a character, or it does some world building. Digimon Adventure I think lands more on the latter. Not saying episodes aren't entertaining, but I don't remember them for the laugh-out-loud jokes or amazing sakuga. I remember them because they actually feel productive. I think the first 7 episodes are a good example. Each episode usually begins with the kids trying to survive by finding food or shelter. The middle has some world building with how strange the digital world is, or by introducing some Digi character. And it ends with whoever kid the show is focusing on at the time going through some sort of change which allows their Digimon to reach champion level. By having the kids adventuring through a world they're unfamiliar with and letting the Digimon be physical manifestations of their growth by gaining new levels, it allows the show to have a nice pace. It never feels like it's slowing down. Where I think Digimon is the best though in every series is its characters. There's a spectrum of likability I think when it comes to Digimon characters that can be measured from Izzy to Mimi. The Izzies are the ones where their home and personal lives affect their character and growth. Finding out the 2 people in the world you trust the most would lie to him for so long, he throws himself into computers, cause technology is facts and data can't lie to you. This unfortunately makes him socially inept and unable to tell or care about how other people feel, like when him and Mimi are trapped in that maze. Which makes moments like the end of that episode when he abandons his computers to save her feel satisfying to watch because you see him starting to learn and help put his trust in other people. The moment when he talks to his parents about how he is adopted and that he doesn't really care about that, as he loves them no matter what, because to him, there's parents, shows how much he cared about the fact they lied to him was more important than the blood relation. That's one of those moments that will just always live in my head. It's top tier Digimon in my opinion. Mimi is the opposite side of that spectrum. You don't really get a lot of insight into her personal life, but you don't need to. You know everything about her. She's a typical Valley girl who isn't really rich but is more well off than most people. The best part about her though is how she is herself. There's a reason she has the crest of sincerity. She is unapologetically herself all the time. Sure, she can be annoying, constantly complaining and trying to always get her way like she's accustomed to. There's an episode where a bunch of Gekomon treat her like a princess, and because she misses that life, she wants to stay and keep that treatment forever. But when it comes to her friends and family, she's always there for them because she genuinely loves them all. During the Dark Master arc, you can tell the infighting and the many deaths of her friends is affecting her the most. She breaks down when she sees Leomon die right in front of her. The point is, she's not really deep or has some sad backstory that's relatable, she's just a fun character that is shown to us throughout the series. The other characters are obviously great as well, just those 2 stuck out to me. Tai I think is a good leader. They thankfully have him make mistakes and give him challenges to overcome to get us to understand why these kids would follow him and make him the leader, because no matter how dark things got, he pushes on and can make the right calls sometimes. But he's also not perfect, he fucks up like everybody else, but that's what makes him likable. Matt is a type of character we will see in almost every Digimon series, the cool loner. That's not me stereotyping, he even calls himself cool. His relationship with TK is what makes him stand out. Being overprotective of him comes from a place of feeling like he hasn't been there for him since their parents are separated and they don't live together. Another moment I love from the show is after the kids beat Myotismon and TK has his family there and he's happy because this is the first time they've all been together in a long time. But you can tell the rest of them are uncomfortable and feel very awkward because they're more aware of the situation. Like, it's just such a good moment, man. I can just feel the awkwardness. Other than that, not much to say about TK. He's fine. Sora, also not much. We know she comes from a traditional Japanese family and has issues with that, like how she wants to play soccer but her mother doesn't want her to because she thinks she'll get hurt. This is something Sora realizes in the episode Biyomon gets her ultimate form. Also, kudos to Digimon interpreting the crest of love with love of a mother and a child instead of the usual kind, which honestly shocked me watching it. I don't know though, I remember liking her more when I was a kid. She's not bad, I just feel she doesn't get a lot of time to shine. Joe is also one of those characters to me. He's the oldest of the Digidestined and early on feels like he has some sort of responsibility to lead them. He learns to mellow out over time and trust in the others more with the help of his chill-ass brother. But again, I just feel like he was kind of put to the wayside for like the development of other characters. Kari doesn't get much, mainly because she comes in late. Besides being Digi-Jesus, she is shown to think of others over herself too much. In a flashback, while it's for Tai's development, she goes out to play soccer with him even though she's sick and almost dies. And when she gets home, she apologizes for not being able to play with him properly. The Digimon will have varying things to say depending on the season. Most of the time, I'm probably never even going to bring them up. That's because most of the time, they're stereotypes more so than their partners, But that's fine, they're mostly used to symbolize the kids' growth and give us giant monster fights, so it's not a negative for them. Plus, that would mean developing 16 main characters for this show, and that's kinda unrealistic. The only one that does get development is Gatomon, with her being forced to be Myotismon's servant when she's actually a Digidestined partner. The death of Wizardmon meant a lot to her, as it's shown to us the two have known each other for a long time. Gonna be honest, the Wizardmon death never felt earned to me. Yeah, Gatomon knew him for some amount of time, but to us as an audience, he shows up in episode 30 and dies in 37. I understand that it's more for Gatomon's development, but a permadeath to me should feel more earned. Like, I should feel as sad and angry as the character, but I don't because I don't know much about him outside of he really cares about Gatomon. I joked about it, but Leomon's death hit me more since we've known him for a longer period and his relationship to others in the digital world were shown to us. It's not that I don't like Wizardmon or anything, it's just his death more than others felt artificial since you find out his purpose is to die just so Gatomon can become Angelwomon. Digimon Adventure, despite having more flaws than I remember, I still love it. It's just fun to watch. One thing I'm big about are characters. I love how they are grounded by having real relatable problems mixed with fun kaiju fights. Sure, its ending I did not like, but up until episode 44 I had a good time. Of course, a lot of kids at the time thought the same thing, and Digimon blew up in popularity. So, of course, what happens when you have a hit TV show? You make a movie. This premiered in between the finale of Adventure and the middle of the premiere of Adventure 02. Here's the thing, there are no actual feature-length films based on the TV shows. They're all basically OVAs that range from 7 minutes to over an hour long. For some reason, Fox Kids, Saban, whoever, decided to take the first 3 OVAs and edit them around a bit and put them all into a feature-length film. And that's the Digimon movie, it's just 3 OVAs crammed together, and it's not very good. Before the movie starts though, you get a weird short that is a part of the official runtime of the movie, based on the show Angela Anaconda. A lot of people complain about this part when they talk about the Digimon movie, you know, how it's tacked on and whatever, but I just hit fast forward, I don't really care. Also, I'm not giving any context as to what this show is.
Angela Anaconda, Digivolve to Angelamon.
After that though, we were given the movie proper, with a Digi-Rap.
Digivolution is up and running. Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know what's coming? A Digi-Destiny starts today. Let me hear you say.
The guy that raps this is called MCP Pod. Speaking of music, the soundtrack is the most 2000s teenagers mixtape ever. You got songs from Bare Naked Ladies, Less Than Jake, fucking All-Star by Smash Mouth is in this movie, 6 months before Shrek, by the way. Digimon was ahead of its time. So you might be wondering, how do they make these 3 individual shorts that have no connection seem cohesive as a film? That's the thing. They don't. But, damn it, do they try. This is mainly done with Kari narrating since she does appear in all of them. Constantly as well, she refers to Willis, a character we will not see until the last act, but they have to keep mentioning him to make it feel like this was all planned. The first part is Digimon Adventure. That's the name of the original short, not the show. This is the OVA that originally aired in Japan, premiering before the TV series, but we saw it after in this movie in the States. It shows Toddler Gogglehead and Kari taking care of a Digi-Egg that comes out of their computer. The egg eventually digivolves, eventually becoming Greymon, and fights Parrotmon. Yes, the event that made the characters into Digidestined is told here. It's okay. The animation is the best part. Mamoru Hosoda, who directed this and the next OVA, Digimon or Wargame, knows his shit. He's focused on showing the animalistic nature of Digimon when they fight, and the light lines and muted colors give it serene yet off-putting atmosphere. He also directed that episode in the show where Tai goes back to the real world. You can definitely tell it's him. Yeah though, this OVA is fine. Doesn't leave that much of an impression on me when in comparison to the rest of Digimon, but it's interesting to see where it all started. After that though, we get the best Digimon. Not just the greatest film, not the greatest animation, just the greatest thing in all of Digimon in my opinion. The middle of the Digimon movie, or Digimon or Wargame, whatever you want to call it, is quintessential Digimon to me. Taking place after the Adventure TV series, when a strange Digi-Egg hatches and begins eating computer code and growing at a fast rate, Izzy notices it and goes to Tai to help him contain it. For various reasons, they can't get in contact with the other Digidestined, except for Matt and TK, but they're in the countryside and have no access to the internet outside of a computer in a barbershop. I didn't know that was a thing. And the 4 kids have to stop the Digimon called Diaboromon from launching nukes all over the world. The reason this is so good is it's just so fun. The animation is amazing. The jokiness and campiness of the dub writing works here the most since that's what the story is. It's a bunch of kids on dial-up internet trying to prevent the nuclear apocalypse, so you gotta embrace the silliness of that. Not having all the Digidestined is a good idea too, since juggling 8 characters in 40 minutes would be too much. Of course, it's also the first time we see Omnimon, a fusion of Metal Garurumon and War Greymon. Also the first time we see Digimon Fuse in general. This will be relevant later. Seriously, if you've not seen this, go watch it. It is the thing that I think of whenever someone says Digimon. Or heck, if you want an actual film that's based off of this premise, go check out Summer Wars, which is literally the Digimon OVA made by the same people, but as a proper feature-length film. The last part of the movie is the worst. The first two shorts were left mostly unchanged in terms of length, since both combined are about an hour. The OVA for the last part, Digimon Hurricane Touchdown Transcendent Evolution, the Golden Digimentals. No, I'm not saying that twice. Is 60 minutes, and we have 30 minutes left in the movie, so guess which one got the most edits? Yeah, it's bad. I don't have much else to say, and I don't really want to talk about it because it's not even like funny bad. It's just bad. Also, to explain it, I would have to describe the next season of Digimon, since that's what it's based on. I'm not going to do that right now. The only thing of note is this ends the movie with the infamous Shrek Mouth by Smash All-Star. Yeah, while the first two I can say watch either version, with this one, watch the original Japanese. It's superior.
That's the saddest story I ever heard.
Get over it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have Smash Mouth in it, so I guess it's just automatically inferior. I guess that's the point of Digimon, you know? It's just like, it's got layers. An Digimon movie is a mixed bag. You got an intro part that's okay, a middle part that is godlike, and a shitty ending. Too many edits, pacing issues, and not being able to meld the OVAs together make it a mess. I really only recommend it if you are a fan of Digimon and want to see everything about it. If not, just watch the original Japanese versions. Except for our war game, both versions are good in my opinion. Shortly after the first series ended, the second series premiered, appropriately titled Digimon Adventure 02. 4 years after the events of the original, the older Digidestined are now in middle school, and Kari and TK attend elementary school. In the digital world, a new threat has arrived, calling himself the Digimon Emperor. Hearing the call from Agumon, Tai goes to the digital world to find out what's happening. There, he finds a Digi-Egg with the crest of courage on it, but he can't interact with it for some reason. Izzy, informed of the situation, is about to go into the digital world with Kari and TK at their school's computer room, but their classmate Davis, aka Diet Gogglehead, who has a crush on Kari, follows them. Suddenly, 3 Digivices shoot out of the computer, one going to Davis, and the other 2 going to Yoli and Cody, their classmates, and TK's neighbors. Eventually, Davis is sent to the digital world with Kari and TK, while Izzy is stuck in the real world trying to explain things to Cody and Yoli. After finding Tai, Davis is able to lift the Digi-Egg, and his partner Digimon Vmon pops out of a hole underneath it. Davis is then able to use the Digi-Egg to Armor Digivolve Vmon into Flamedramon. Armor Digivolving is one of the 2 new types of Digivolving we will see in this season. Later on, after Tai and Izzy tell all the other Digidestined what's going on, stuff happens and Izzy and Sora go in with the new kids. There, Cody and Yoli find Digi-Eggs for them with their partner Digimon. Yoli gets the Crest of Love and her partner Hawkmon, and Cody gets Knowledge and Armadillomon. Then in the next episode, Kari and TK find Digi-Eggs and their Digivices transform into one similar to Davis, Cody, and Yoli. These are called D3s. They are what allow the kids to enter the digital worlds in the first place and Armor Digivolve. Now for some reason, the original Digidestined couldn't Digivolve, and it's revealed that this is because of dark spires the Digimon Emperor has put up. Obviously not sure exactly how they work, but they basically interrupt the signal or something of the Digivices to the Digimon, so they can't Digivolve under normal means, which is why they have to use Armor Digivolving. So the 6 original kids are useless, yet they keep showing up and interacting with the new ones. It's cool to see them guide the new kids, but nerfing them so much just makes them feel unneeded. Eventually the kids find out the Digimon Emperor's real identity is a kid named Ken, a super genius prodigy child. Before they can confront him though, he runs away from home, deciding to live forever in the digital world and rule over it. Why that matters is because this season, for some reason, time now operates the same between the digital world and the real world. Before, the Digimon Emperor would only come out in the afternoon since Ken would be at school and he would have to leave at night to go home. Now that he lives in the digital world, he can be a dick any time of the day. Now you might be wondering, how the heck does that work? Didn't last season clearly establish that time moves slower in the digital world, and this being the same universe, shouldn't the same rules still apply? The next couple episodes are the same as the ones before. The kids go to the digital world with an older kid, they learn a lesson, they rinse and repeat. Also, Kari goes into this mysterious place called the Dark Ocean that she seems to have some strange connection to. And I shit you not, this Dark Ocean is never going to be relevant. Also, the ghost of Wizardmon shows up. Okay. Eventually, the kids decide to do something, and stay in the digital world until they stop Ken. Ken, in the meantime, is using a somehow alive Devimon. Yeah, he's still alive somehow despite being disintegrated. He's using him and other Digimon's data to create Chimeramon, an abomination of Digimon. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Ken has had this Wormmon with him the whole time, who he has just been abusing the shit out of. But Wormmon shows he actually cares for Ken and is a kind soul. He just wants him to be happy, since he's his partner Digimon. Eventually, Wormmon comes to Davis and shows him the Golden Digi-Egg, which he uses to digivolve Vmon into Magnamon, and they defeat Chimeramon. But in order to do that, Wormmon sends the last of his energy to Magnamon. After the fight, Ken slowly realizes he kinda did slavery and genocide. Whoops. Then Wormmon dies in his arms. While this is happening, a new crest, the Crest of Kindness, appears and is given to Ken as he wanders off, saying Wormmon is gone now, just like his brother. The episode after that, though, episode 23, in my opinion, is one of the best episodes in all of Digimon. It shows us Ken's past, his brother receiving a Digivice. Ken wants to use it too, but his brother yells at him for going against what he said, and Ken wishes he would just go away. Then he dies in a car accident. Whoops. Overcome with grief, Ken shuts himself off from everyone, including his parents, and eventually starts exchanging emails with a mysterious person who tells him of a digital world, and to use his brother's Digivice to get there. When Ken does, he makes it to a place similar to the Dark Ocean Kari went to, and the Digivice turns into a D3, and the Digimon Emperor was born. Back in the present, Ken is suffering from amnesia due to the recent events, and somehow finds himself in the digital world, specifically at Primary Village, where Digimon are reborn. Naturally, a lot of Digimon there he killed, and they ate him, and tell him to just go die in a hole somewhere. This causes Ken to cry and plead and beg someone to just give him another chance, as he doesn't clearly understand what he's done, and then he gets it, as he finds Wormmon reborn as Leafmon, and sees this as his chance to redeem himself. But it's not over, because Ken returns to the real world, and now experiencing all these things, his memory starts coming back, as he finally comes to terms with all of the things that he's done up until this point. If you haven't noticed, I've been skipping a lot in this summary compared to the original adventure, because nothing's really happening. This episode, though, made me think 02 was turning around and was going to try some new stuff. Nope. Eventually, Ken, after getting a pep talk from Davis, is convinced to join the Digidestin, and the two fuse X-Vmon and Stingmon, Wormmon's evolution, into Paladramon. Paladramon? They unlock DNA Digivolving, the other new Digivolving method. The kids face a new threat, a woman who is turning Dark Spires into powerful Digimon for evil reasons, I'm sure. This woman turns out to be Arukenimon, who works with her partner Mummymon. Mummymon has the best Digimon power. Gun. To defeat the kids, the two combine 100 Dark Spires to create Black War Greymon, because if there's anything anime has taught me, black is evil. BWGM defeats the kids easily, but doesn't finish them off because he's an honorable warrior searching for a worthy opponent, so he can find the meaning of why he exists in the first place. No joke, there is a whole episode where BWGM and Agumon, of all characters, have a philosophical conversation about life. It's more boring than you'd think. Then, completely out of fucking nowhere, the goal now becomes destroying these objects called Destiny Stones. No, I didn't forget to bring these up. This is the first time these things have ever been mentioned. Ever. All BWGM knows is when he destroys them all, the worthy opponent he is searching for will arrive. And the kids want to stop him, because when he destroys all the Destiny Stones, I don't know, something bad will happen, I guess. During this part, Yoli and Kari DNA Digivolve into Sulfimon, and Cody and TK get Shakomon. After the last Destiny Stone is destroyed, Azulongmon shows up, a godlike Digimon, and exposits to the kids about Dark Spires and Armor Digivolving. I'm sure it was very interesting when I watched it. He also says there is a bigger villain pulling the strings behind the scenes, which we, the audience, already knew. Also, Davis spots a Control Spire in the real world. Uh-oh. Then there's a Christmas episode. I'm just mentioning it because I like Christmas episodes. Digimon needs more of them. Eventually, Digimon and Dark Spires start appearing all over the world, and the original and the new Digidestin team up to stop them. This begins a three-parter called Digimon World Tour, a cool segment where all the Digidestin split up to different parts of the world, aiding the other Oh, okay. I swear this is the last time, but I forgot to mention something again. Why are there Digidestin all over the world? In an earlier episode, the kids realized they must have become Digidestin after witnessing several events that the OG kids were involved in. Davis was one of the kids who was held captive by Myotismon. Cody saw Digimon coming to the real world during that time when the two worlds were colliding. And Yoli, along with many of the other Digidestin around the world, saw the fight with Omnimon and Diaboromon from our war game. So that's why there are a ton of Digidestin, cause the only criteria, I guess, is seeing a Digimon. Anyway, the world Poor Tart is great. Love the combinations of characters they do. Seeing Sora and Yoli try to communicate with the Russian Digidestined is hilarious.
Bioman and Hochman.
Kirana and Sonia, Yuri.
Yoli, Sora, Bioman, Hochman.
This is hopeless. Why didn't the others have this problem?
But since the kids were going around the world, Japan was defenseless, and Arukendimon has been going around kidnapping kids. Then a new enemy, the evil Daemon, shows up. And then they beat him in 3 episodes. What was the point? The real new villain is Yukio Oikawa, who apparently put a dark spore in Ken, which made him evil, and he takes that spore and puts it in all the kidnapped kids. BWGM shows up again, kinda forgot about him, and he's like, "Fuck you, Oikawa," and Oikawa's like, "Nah, fuck you, bitch," and he kills him. But BWGM uses the final life force, or whatever, to seal the gate between the real world and the digital world. I guess he can do that. Oikawa, unaware that the portal is closed, still tries to go to the digital world using, evil kid power, but ends up in some weird purgatory zone with the Digidestined following. And of course, it wouldn't be Adventure if, with 2 episodes left, we reveal who the real villain is. The one who's manipulating everything since the beginning, the one who started it all. It's Myotismon again. All the Digidestined around the world show up because of the power of their hearts or something, and they all lend their energy to beat Mallow Myotismon. Power of friendship from around the world. Myotismon dies, Oikawa dies, and that's it. That's 0-2. "25 years later, all the kids are grown up and have families, and they get careers that make no sense. Tai becomes a diplomat between Digimon and humans, Matt becomes an astronaut, Davis runs a ramen cart, TK is a novelist, Marge becomes a robot, and no one had any problems with this ending whatsoever."
Now it's up to our children and to children everywhere to follow their dreams. Who knows where they'll end up, but the only way to find out is to take that first step into adventure.
Digimon 02 is a hot mess. Apparently this is due to many of the production staff changing throughout the series while it was going on, which is why things like the Dark Ocean are not expanded on, or random villains like Daemon show up for 3 episodes. Not much to say, all the animation is largely the same, along with the music. Except when the kids go to the digital world, they play this 2000s ass theme song, all the lyrics are just "oh." They also have a new battle song that's not "Hey Digimon," so I hate it. The dub quality is the same too, with constant jokes being spouted even during serious moments. It's a little bit more toned down, but I call that a detriment since I love the cheese of these dubs. The story, it ain't great. The Digimon Emperor arc was passable, it did meander around a bit too long I think. But the stuff with Ken almost made up for it. When Harukendimon and Mummymon become the villains, I started tuning out more since these two suck. They act like a comedy duo. When they first show up, they're kind of threatening, but after episode 29, they act like a diet Team Rocket. Also, Mummymon has a foot fetish.
I'm just giving you a compliment. I love your feet, even your pointy toes.
Enough with the feet.
Blackboard Greymon you think would be interesting with his wandering warrior seeking answers thing, but he mostly just shows up, fights, destroys the Destiny Stone, then he leaves. Speaking of the Destiny Stones, they are stupid. That's all I'm saying about the Destiny Stones. The last bit with Oikawa came way too late. They try to cram so much backstory in the last 5 episodes. I didn't even mention why Oikawa got manipulated by Myotismon, how he was there when Myotismon died, or his relationship to Cody's father, because it ultimately doesn't matter. The kids having the ability to go between the real and digital world made episodes feel less impactful. The early episodes were just, they destroy a bunch of dark spires over and over and over until randomly the plot decides to start again. This made the filler seem very unnecessary. Yes, some of them were entertaining, but most of them just revolve around the kids learning a different version of a lesson they kind of already learned before. Another thing that bothered me was how the show kept bringing back stuff from the first series. Devimon is used to create Chimeramon, Myotismon is the true villain, the original Digidestined hang around for far too long. In my opinion, the OG Digidestined should have just been there at the beginning to help guide the newbies, then not have showed up until the World Tour thing. As much as I love Digimon, I do not give a single shit about its world or mythology. Digimon Universe, as they call it, isn't ripe for interesting stories in my opinion. which I think is part of the reason why every series after this takes place in a completely different universe with new characters. You're going to see the same thing in every series too, like every finale will involve the digital world and real worlds colliding, because in this universe that's the ultimate threat, so you can't do much more after that. Boy, are they going to try though. This is one of the reasons why I brushed over a lot of 0-2, especially the last half, because a lot of it is just exposition. Like, I don't care how the Dark Spires work or how they were made. It's not that interesting. I don't watch Digimon for the lore so I can correct them on some obscure continuity error. I watch it because it gives me fun and interesting characters that, despite going on a strange adventure, are grounded by real-life problems. Speaking of characters, we got 2 returning ones with Kari and TK. They don't get much in this season. I already talked about her mysterious connection to the Dark Ocean being a letdown. Other than that, she doesn't display her Digi-Jesus powers from the last series. They go with this angle of her hiding her emotions and she's bottling everything up, but I think that's just an excuse for her being boring and emotionless most of the time. Also, when I was a kid, I confused her with Kairi from Kingdom Hearts because of the similar name and design. That's probably the most interesting thing about both of those characters. TK only has 2 emotions. He is either really chill or angry. His stuff comes from his trauma when he thought Angemon died after fighting Devimon. No joke, they show the scene of Angemon dying like 10 times. It appears in 1/5 of the entire show. This trauma doesn't really develop him, it only gets brought out in anger. Like a scene that comes out of nowhere when he confronts the Digi-Emperor after seeing Devimon and the two get into a fist fight. Like, what the fuck, how did we get here? Other than that, he's pretty lame. I already talked about Ken. I do want to say that I don't think the fact he was turned evil by a spore ruins his character or anything. During the greatest episode, he didn't know that, and he believed that at the time those actions were his own, and by the time the Dark Spore stuff happened, his character arc was basically done by that point. Don't get me wrong, the spore is still stupid, like just have him be evil, come on. But it comes in way too late to matter to me. Davis is an okay leader. Honestly, I always thought Kari should be the leader, being Tai's younger sister, but no, it's Davis because he has the goggles and the dragon-like Digimon. Look, I don't make the rules, it's like being the Red Ranger, your fate is already decided. Speaking of Power Rangers, this happened in the show.
Interrupt the Power Rangers Arbor Day special for this special news bulletin.
I watched that episode at like 3 a.m. and when I heard that, it really freaked me out. Davis is mostly motivated by his crush on Kari, which goes nowhere. It's mostly used for comedy. Other than that, he is hard-headed big mouth that acts before he thinks. There are only 3 times when I thought he was a good leader. The first was when the Digimon Emperor captured his friends and he says Davis has to beg for their lives, and Davis without hesitation does so.
Don't, Davis! Please, Master, spare my friends. That's excellent.
Now, Beamon, restrain him. I command you.
Never! It's okay, Beamon. Do what he says. Davis, do it for the others. If it'll save our friends, obey the Emperor.
The other time is when he's the only one willing to give Ken a second chance, saying he must be good since he got a crest, and he seems regretful. And the last time is his pep talk to Ken when they meet back up. But besides those 3 very specific times, he was pretty annoying. Cody is the youngest, that's his thing. And the others treat him different simply because he is young, despite the fact he's really smart. In episode 3, he suggests they try to find out who the Digimon Emperor is in the real world, since they have a better chance to beat him there. And they're like, shut up Cody, you're a kid.
How do you suggest we do that?
If we find out his human identity, maybe we can defeat him from this side where his powers aren't as strong.
Well, you're a little young to be worrying about those things, Cody.
Yeah, just let us older kids come up with a plan.
Like, fuck off, that's a good plan. We're shown he has a strict home life with an overprotective mother and a grandfather who practices kendo with him. You can tell his upbringing really affects how he acts. In the episode where he gets his second Digi-Egg, he is upset at the fact he has to lie to his grandpa and mom to help his friends, cause his grandfather has always instilled in him that lying is one of the worst things you can do, especially to your family. A speech from Joe gets him over it, but I can understand why it weighed so heavily on him. I don't dislike Cody, but he didn't really leave an impression on me either. I do think he's a good character though. I kinda wish they explored his personal life a bit more to get me to like him, but he's fine. No complaints really. Yoli is awesome. She is my second favorite character in all of Digimon behind Mimi. She's a confident smartass who, while keeping her friend's safety in mind, usually is looking out for herself. But of course the best part about her is she's fucking hilarious.
I told you I'm having a picnic with the computer club today. So, I offered to bring salad for everyone.
And who's paying for it?
Yeah, I need to talk to you about that. Talk to you later.
Like Mimi, she doesn't really have a lot of deep stuff going on. She seems to live a normal life, but that's what I like about her. You don't need to overcomplicate what's already perfect. They try to give her something by having her personality contrast Kari. With Kari bottling things up, Yoli always says what's on her mind, and the two clash for one episode about it. In that episode, though, it's not that interesting. It's just the two come to a realization after slapping each other, and then they get their DNA Digivolve form. I don't care about all that, because she was an oasis of laughs in a desert of meh. Digimon 02 is a mixed bag. And unfortunately, after it gets mixed, you realize the wrong ingredients were thrown in and it tastes like shit. The highs were great, but there was far too few of them, and the lows were really low, and there are way too many of them. There were two OVAs released for Digimon 02. One was that name I won't say again, and we already looked at it in the Digimon movie. The other is titled Revenge of Diaboromon. It's fine. Much like the series, it feels like a rehash of its predecessor being a sequel to our wargame. It sees Diaboromon returning, big shock, and plans to go to the real world this time, and yeah, that's it, that's the whole story. It's not bad. I like the plot fine, and all the characters work well off of each other. I mean, they managed to work in all 12 Digidestined pretty well considering it's just under 30 minutes. They all don't get some big scene or anything, but I'm fairly sure everyone at least has a speaking role. The animation is spectacular too. A lot of long shots with the background being the focus while the characters are smaller and less detailed, allowing them to move them around easier. I could look at this shot all day, man. Just look at that animation. It's fine, but if you didn't watch it, you're not really missing anything.
Digimon, Digimon Monsters, Digimon.
Despite 02 being bad, during its run on Fox Kids, it and Power Rangers were the highest viewed shows, so of course they were going to dub the third season Digimon Tamers. But wait, you can't continue the story of Adventure, it wrapped up quite nicely, right? Well, like Power Rangers, every season now on of Digimon will feature different characters in a different world with their own stories. So who did they get to write this new season for a wildly popular kids show? The guy that wrote Serial Experiments Lane. If you don't know what that is and haven't seen Tamers before, boy are you in for a treat. So this show is meant to take place in the real world. In the Tamers universe, the Digimon anime, card games, the video games, they're all just that. The kids in this world have watched the adventures of the Digidestined on TV, they've played Digimon World, it's just a product here. One of these kids is the OG gogglehead, Takato. After dumpstering his friends in a game of cards, his toy card reader mysteriously turns into a Digivice. In between this, we meet his classmates Kazu, Kenta, and Jerry, who talks through a puppet sometimes. Then a couple of stuff happens in quick sequence. There's a mysterious organization monitoring digital activity across the world, a little Digimon named Calumon somehow finds itself in the human world, and Takato has a weird dream about a girl fighting with Digimon. Takato, being a huge fan of Digimon, makes up his own, Guilmon, and his Digivice scans his drawing of it, and a Digi-Egg appears on it. Eventually the egg hatches and Takato meets Guilmon for the first time.
Aw, dude, that's harsh. Will Takato get toasted on Guilmon's grill? Find out on the next Digimon Digital Monsters.
Davis? Yeah, I guess in a weird way to make this complete shift in seasons not be too jarring, Davis does the to be continued and previously on segments for this season. In the adventure shows, a different kid would take that role every episode. To say Davis is distracting would be an understatement. Anyways, Guilmon being made up and born 5 minutes ago means he doesn't act like a typical Digimon. He talks in broken English and does not know anything other than wanting to be by Takato's side and following his instincts. While Takato tries to figure out what to do with Guilmon since he can't hide him at his house forever, he meets Henry, another tamer, and his partner Terriermon. Later, while Takato is looking for a place to stash Guilmon, he is attacked by Rika, the girl he saw from his dream, and her partner, Renamon. Rika is going around fighting any Digimon she sees, so Renamon can absorb their data, which she thinks will allow her to Digivolve. Yep, when Digimon die in this world, they don't get reborn as Digi-Eggs, they basically get eaten by other Digimon, like gaining EXP in a video game. Eventually Henry shows up and questions Rika's Digimon should fight each other because that's what you do on the game philosophy, since he thinks they must have some reason for being chosen to have partners. And after finding a place to stash Guilmon, Rika and Renamon attack Guilmon again. Henry shows up again to stop them, but when Terriermon accidentally gets in between the fight, Henry's worry for his partner and makes him Digivolve into Gargamon. Also, while Digivolving, a strange light shines out of Calumon's head. A couple of days later, after a fight with a Vilemon, the three kids meet Calumon, and Takato and Henry become antagonistic towards Rika's approach to Digimon as she sees them as just data and this is all a game to her. We soon find out Rika is actually the queen of games, being the best player of the Digimon card game. She thinks she got Renamon because of her skill and believes this to be an extension of the game. Spider attacks, and Rika's concern for Renamon gets her to Digivolve into Cubimon. And again, Calumon's head shines when this happens. Also during this episode, we are introduced to Impmon, a Digimon that mainly seems to be wandering around trying to tell Digimon with partners that they don't actually care about them, and they'll toss them aside someday. But Renamon and Guilmon don't really care about what he has to say, as they trust in their partners. Eventually, the three kids come together to save Guilmon, who becomes a victim of a test of the Juggernaut program, developed by the mysterious company now known as Hypnos. And I guess these three are friends now? Well, we'll call them casual acquaintances. Later, during a fight with a Devidramon, Guilmon digivolves into Growlmon. Unfortunately, Guilmon, being new to this Digimon thing, doesn't know how to de-digivolve. But they solve it in the next episode. Eventually, Takato meets the mysterious man we have been seeing named Yamaki, who launches the completed Juggernaut project to gather and delete all the Digimon that came into the real world. Unfortunately, this opens up a portal to the digital world, and a giant tiger Digimon Mihiramon comes through, and Hypnos can't stop it. Whoops. Yamaki walks away from this, realizing he miscalculated while the kids try to beat Mihiramon. They all get beat, but Takato manages to get Growlmon to digivolve to ultimate level, War Growlmon. Wait a minute. After winning, the kids find out more Digimon like Mihiramon will come through the portal between worlds. All ultimate Digimon called the 12 Devas, each based on an animal from the Chinese zodiac. Over the course of this, Takato's classmates, including Kazu, Kenta, and Jerry, find out about the Tamers Digimon, as well as Terriermon and Renamon getting their ultimate forms. And then while they're off doing that, Yamaki begins gathering a group of scientists who apparently made the first Digimon years ago. Henry's father is one of them, as he revealed in an earlier episode. Yamaki convinces them to help him restart the Juggernaut project to kill all Digimon, convincing them to be dangerous, and since they made them, they have to right their wrong. Also, while this is going on, Impmon decides to prove he doesn't need a tamer to become strong and ends up getting his ass beat hard by the Horse Diva. Seriously, he gets fucked up, and goes to hide in a hole somewhere to lick his wounds. Also, while this is going on, Jerry even meets her own partner Digimon, Leomon. I'm sure it'll work out, right? What's the worst that can happen? Eventually, the Monkey Deva shows up and fucks with the new Juggernaut project, opening a portal to the digital world and dragging Kalumon with him. Also, Jerry gets a Digivice, and Leomon becomes her partner officially. The Tamers agree to go to the digital world to save Kalumon, and after some of them reveal Digimon to their parents, the Tamers and Kazu and Kenta, who are going because they want their own Digimon, head into a digital portal that was found in a hole Guilmon dug at his house. While this is going on, also Impmon goes there when a mysterious voice offers him power. Oh yeah, we know also that Impmon's Tamers were two bratty kids that abused him and always fought, which is why he ran away, and claims he doesn't need a tamer. This voice is revealed to be the Dog Diva, who gives Impmon the power he wants, digivolving him into Beelzemon. In the digital world, the kids also meet everyone's favorite Digimon character, Ryo. What, you don't know who Ryo is? You should. He's the main character from that one Digimon game on the Wonder Swan. The Wonder Swan? How do you not know about Ryo? It's like, come on, look at the way they introduce him. He's obviously an important character, and he's a reoccurring one, so you better get used to him. While that's going on, in the real world, Yamaki, who is a good guy now, by the way, after, fucking up, he's now instead trying to find a way to help the kids in the digital world. Back in the digital world, Takato and Henry get separated from the group and meet Jesus. Now, Jesus explains he was a part of the team with Henry's dad, who created Digimon, and he's basically in a coma with his consciousness in the digital world. He tells them a bunch of exposition. It was very interesting, I assure you. The group reunites after this. Okay, so here's one of the things about Tamers that we've probably noticed. A lot is happening at the same time, and it's all building up until this one point in episode 34. So far, it's been pretty standard Digimon affair. Aside from the tone being slightly more serious, it's a pretty regular Digimon series, I think. Episode 34, though, this is where things get Tamers-y. So, Beelzemon kills Leomon. Jerry takes this pretty well. Consumed by anger, Takato makes War Growlmon digivolve into a dark Digivolution. I forget its name.
I don't think Takato meant to turn Guilmon into whatever that is.
Beelzemon beats it, and Takato, realizing he fucked up, unlocks the final evolution, Biomerging, where he fuses with Guilmon to form Gallantmon. By the way, just listening to this thing trying to sound like all serious in this like really high intense moment, but throughout it you hear Guilmon's stupid fucking dragon voice.
Even now, you show no remorse for what you have done. I have no choice but to destroy you!
Like, I can't be the only one that finds that funny, right? Like, this is just hilarious. They defeat Beelzemon and are about to kill him, but Jerry tells them not to because it won't bring Leomon back. Beelzemon, confused as to why she wouldn't want revenge, runs off. Soon after, Henry and Rika get their Mega Biomerged forms too, and the kids are about to fight the last Diva, but Azulongmon shows up. And of course, there are 10 episodes left, so he reveals the real threat plaguing the real and digital world. It's something called the D-Reaper, an antivirus program bent on returning both worlds to a state of nothingness. Oh man, that sounds like a fearsome enemy. What do you think, Jerry?
So sad. What a sad little Digimon. It's not necessary, you know. Sadness can be deleted.
You're just gonna be a bummer the whole time now, aren't you? Calumon uses their Digivolution powers to digivolve all the Digimon so they can fight the D-Reaper in the digital world, while the kids will go back home and figure out what to do in the real world. Eventually, the scientists and Hypno send an arc to get the kids out of the digital world, and Rika goes back to make sure they grab Impmon. The kids return, but Jerry's parents aren't coming to pick her up, so Takato offers to take her home. Aw, how sweet. Wonder how they're getting along.
I hate seeing you this way.
Okay, look, kids. You're making this really hard for me to make funny, okay? I'm trying to make this interesting for the people while I give this recap, alright? You know, keep their interests. Could you, I don't know, smile or something? You're really bringing it down. But uh-oh, the D-Reaper has come to Earth. The kids try their best to fight it. Oh, also Ryo got his Biomerge form off-screen, but they can't really figure out how to fight it. Eventually they find out that Jerry they took back was a part of the D-Reaper disguised as Jerry, and he's kidnapped the real one, even using her voice to talk to the Tamers. While this is happening, Impmon goes back to his old Tamers who realize how bad they were to him, and they apologize, making amends. The team tries to save her, and when they get close, Beelzemon calls on the data of Leomon, using his signature attack in a desperate attempt to save Jerry, but when he reaches out his hand towards her, God, that's so fucking good. Eventually, they all realize the D-Reaper is too powerful and fall back for a week? They left Jerry in there for a week? How is she still alive without eating and drinking? Is she living off the angst? Well, while she's in there, Calumon, who made its way there, tries to convince her to get over it, but we see that she's suffering from the trauma of her mother's death, and hasn't had the best home life. And Lemon's death... Okay, my script, I guess, I would have corrected Leomon to Lemon, and I never fixed it. Leomon's death has brought all of her negative emotions out, which is why she shut herself off from everyone, and it's what's fueling the D-Reaper. The kids not wanting to give up mount one last rescue mission. Meanwhile, the scientists are working on Operation Doodlebug. I feel like we could come up with a cooler name there, guys. Since they can't kill the D-Reaper, this program will revert it back to its original form as a harmless antivirus software. As the kids fight the thing, Jerry in her cocoon slowly starts to realize staying there being sad isn't helping anyone, and Leomon didn't sacrifice himself just so she can cry about it. This starts to weaken the D-Reaper, and Takato gets his Super Saiyan God form. Power of friendship and angst, can't forget that. After rescuing Jerry, Doodlebug starts and the D-Reaper begins reverting. Later, Impmon asks for Jerry's forgiveness, and she says she holds no ill will towards him. Oh, isn't that nice? They won, saved the day, and everyone's forgiven. Well, how much longer we got in the episode? Oh shit, we got 5 minutes left. Come on, we gotta wrap this up. Well, so the kids got, as Doodlebug isn't just reverting the D-Reaper, but the entire digital world, and all the Digimon are reverting back to data and being dragged back to the digital world.
I know it hurts now, son, but in time, it'll get better. You'll see.
God, I hate that I love that, you know what I mean? Sometime after this, life continues on normally for everyone, and while Takato misses Guilmon, he doesn't give up hope that he will see him again one day.
Actually, scratch that. I think I'm gonna keep that promise after all.
Digimon Tamers is the black sheep of the Digimon franchise. I don't mean that in a negative sense, it's just... Do you see this shit? The animation in this show is definitely better than the adventures. The fights have actual animation, less reliance on special moves, more on the movements of the Digimon, probably in an effort to make them seem more animalistic. The music seemed largely the same to me. The theme is the same as the first two seasons, but has more of a rock angle to it. Any new music didn't leave that much of an impression on me. I am sad to report, though, there is no cheesy 2000s music in this one. The dub is pretty good, I guess because of the more uncomfortable tone of Tamers. They hold back on telling jokes every 5 seconds. As I said before though, I like my Digimon cheesy, so I didn't really care for it. I feel the story of Tamers doesn't really get started until maybe episode 19. Up until then, the kids don't really have a goal. They just dick around in a Digimon attack, they fight it next episode. Similar to 02 with its Dark Spires. Yeah, there is some character development stuff, and things do progress slowly, but it just feels like there's no urgency. Even when they go to rescue Calumon, yeah, he's their friend, but the most we see of Calumon is he just shows up, he acts cute, digivolves someone with his powers, then fucks off. I don't really care if he's captured, and I don't care if they save him. The Devas are uninteresting, that's all I have to say about them. Once they get to the digital world, things pick up a little bit, but they still meander around for a while, and they keep coming up with reasons to get the group separated with these storms or whatever. It's just an excuse to get characters separated so they can be in specific spots so the pod can continue. Yeah, when Leomon dies, the show turns into what most people remember Tamers for, but honestly, I'm not that into it. I do like the D-Reaper as the final boss. Having this entity that is so hellbent on erasing existence is just fucking terrifying. I love it. Also, they couldn't even really beat it, like they had to basically reset it. It's still technically around too, it can come back. Tamers is often regarded among fans as one of the best Digimon series for being so experimental and having a darker tone. That's just not my thing, man. Watching the last 10 episodes, it doesn't feel like I'm watching Digimon. It feels like I'm watching a good psychological anime, but not Digimon. By this point, there had been 2 seasons of Digimon of varying quality, but both gave it an identity. They were cheesy fun Monster of the Week shows that could get serious when it needed to be. Digimon Tamers is a more serious and realistic take on the subject that deals with a lot of heavy topics and themes. Especially after binge watching all the Digimon, nothing has come close to Tamers on the tone. It's also the Digimon show that benefits the most from binge watching, considering all the storylines they build up that don't get payoff until the very end. Before streaming though, you had to watch these as they came out. If you missed one, tough shit. How I used to watch Digimon is through reruns in the mid-2000s on several Disney-related channels like Jetix. These channels would cycle between the first 4 series. Out of all of them, I remember Tamers the least because the other shows I could tune in, and even if I didn't completely understand what was going on, I could still enjoy it. Tamers, I come in on scenes like this. Yeah, no shit, Kid Me is going to change the channel. Of course, as an adult, I can appreciate all the decisions made here and agree that this series is one of Digimon's best, but I wouldn't watch it again. I'm glad I saw it, and I love a good show or movie that delivers on heavy themes and challenges the viewer, but at the end of the day, after a long day of work or school, I'm not going to turn on one of those. I'm going to watch something that makes me laugh, not something that depresses me. To be clear, I'm not saying this show is bad or didn't entertain me or anything. I think it deserves all the praise it gets, and it's definitely up there as being one of the best things Digimon's ever done. It's just for me. Based on my tastes, I would much rather watch dumb, silly monster fights with some melodrama sprinkled in there than a bunch of kids that fuse with their Digimon, symbolizing how much trust they now have in each other, fighting an unfeeling entity that traps a girl using her negative emotions for power, which is a metaphor for someone dealing with the loss of a loved one, and as she's trapped in the bubble of her own despair, it pushes people away and gets stronger as she drifts slowly into a deeper depression. Only when she comes to the realization herself that sitting around feeling sad is not helping anyone, are her friends finally able to reach her and pull her out of her depression ball. Yeah, that stuff's really cool and really thought out and well planned. But I don't think it's fun to watch. Field Tamers is looked back on fondly because we are adults now and we recognize a lot of these elements. But at least from my memory when I watched this as a kid, I didn't remember any of that shit. I only watched it because it was Digimon and I wanted to see kaiju fights. Okay, characters. Side characters Kazu and Kenta are fine, they're mostly comedic relief, I guess. Ryo is there. I already talked enough about Jerry when I was justifying my opinion. Main characters. Honestly, I have a hard time describing Ducato, but I think that's a good thing. He's a normal kid. Things are going right, he's very social and outgoing, but when shit hits the fan, as it often does in Tamers, he becomes a walking ball of sad. I think that got me to relate to him though, like whenever he is faced with the harshness of reality, he doesn't know how to handle it, so he just cries, he just lets it all out. I like it though when characters cry, it reminds me, you know, they're human and helps me relate to them better. His relationship with Guilmon I feel could have been better. Like Guilmon is basically a baby dinosaur, it only knows how to fight and is not aware of many things that other Digimon are, like hiding from humans to stay secret. He doesn't even know how to de-digivolve. For some reason I remember Guilmon being dumber though, but he speaks well enough and learns fast in the beginning, and by the Digital World arc he's speaking full sentences. Where Ducato falls on both sides of the spectrum, seeing Digimon as his friends but also willing to fight with them, Henry and Rika I find more interesting as they fall on opposite sides. Henry really loves Digimon. Even before he knew they were real and he was just playing a game, he didn't want to kill them. In other words, he's a pussy. When he gets Terriermon, he believes that he and the others didn't get them just to fight but for some higher purpose. He's also very overprotective of his Digimon, Terriermon. Terriermon is a chill dude. He has a catchphrase, Momentai, which is literally Hakuna Matata, don't worry about it. However, he's still a Digimon and Digimon love to fight, but Henry don't want that, so he has to slowly realize that fighting is as natural as breathing for them. And to have more trust in his partner as well, since when Terriermon first Digivolves, Henry doesn't want to do it again since Terriermon couldn't control it, but as we see throughout the series, he comes to trust him so much eventually that they biomerge. Rika, I didn't like at first. She thinks she's hot shit because she's good at a card game, and she's a cool loner because her mom is always working and her dad is never around, so she's used to being alone. Besides her grandma, I guess she doesn't count though. It baffles me too because I don't think her mom is that bad. Yeah, she leaves in the middle of a Parents' Day thing, but at least she showed up. She tried to take an interest in the card game Rika plays and even takes her to work to show her what it's like. Yeah, Rika hated that, but at least her mom's trying, you know? I'm trying to say, I think Rika's mom is not a bad mom. She just sucks at it. Because she's a single woman trying to raise her kid by herself with the help of her mom. I know I'm focusing a lot on her mom rather than Rika herself. I'm doing this because I'm trying to say I don't think they gave Rika such an excuse in the beginning to act like such a cunt. I don't understand her. When apparently her and Renamon are fighting all these Digimon, she never realized how dangerous they are. It's implied she has fought champion level Digimon, but when she's attacked by Gargomon, it's like the first time she's seen them be this destructive. Or when she's kidnapped by an Ice Devimon, all of a sudden again she realizes Digimon are dangerous and she hates all Digimon, even Renamon. Which is, what? After the stuff they've seen up until that point, why did that moment in particular make you a Digimon racist? It just feels really inconsistent to me that all these things just happen to her because she's the cool loner and she has to be alone and have that moment where she realizes she really needs people, including her partner, because that's the loner thing. I do like Rika, especially later on when she mellows out and becomes part of the group. It just feels like how we got there was really forced. Renamon is cool, she can do better than Rika. I know it seems like I'm being really negative toward Tamers. If you think so, write a series of comments telling me how wrong I am. But again, I assure you, Tamers is really good and I do consider it to be one of the best Digimon series. It's just when I'm watching something like the original Adventure, I'm so distracted by nostalgia and actual joy seeing that's something I liked as a kid, I still like today, I want to gush about it. When it's something annoying and boring like 02, I tune out. When I watch Tamers, I appreciate all the things it does, but I'm not enjoying what it does, and I have no desire to talk about it because I ultimately don't care that much. Also, I have to mention this because I'm never going to get a chance in this video again, that in 2021, during DigiFest, it's a Digimon event held every year, the original voice cast of Tamers read an audio drama written by Chiaki Konica, the original writer, and I can't make this shit up. The script featured the Tamers fighting a villainous entity called Political Correctness, which used an attack called cancel culture. It gets better. Before that, Konica was apparently keeping a blog of rewatching Digimon Tamers, and in that blog he posted his beliefs about several debunked conspiracy theories, including things revolving around 9/11 and COVID-19. That's the best thing I got out of watching Tamers. Out of this whole video was just finding that story. I can't top that. I might as well end the video here, but I got more stuff to watch. Much like 02, Tamers also got 2 OVAs. The first one, Battle of Adventurers, is really boring. Takato visits his cousin who actually showed up at the end of the series, and I had no idea who he was until I watched this. Anyway, he visits him and Henry comes along for some reason. There's a Digimon dog. Look, I was not paying attention. This OVA made me realize how uninteresting these kids are when they aren't being depressed. I don't want to see them hang out and have fun because they're not that interesting to watch. It's more interesting to watch them react to fucked up shit happening to or around them. The only things of note involve dimensional travel. The main villain, Mephistomon, comes from another world after fighting Omnimon, and it is implied that this Omnimon is the adventure one because Mephistomon is made of AppliMonsters data. And Omnimon refers to the Tamers as Digidestined for the first time.
I cannot leave this dimension, so I'm relying on you Digidestined to take him down. Mere children cannot stop me.
We're Digidestined!
I'm bringing this up because this multi-dimensional travel stuff is actually going to be relevant in a couple seasons. It's going to be just as stupid, but remember it, it's going to come up again. The other OVA, Runaway Locomon, is kind of weird. It takes place 6 months after the end of Tamers. All the kids have their Digimon back. Which, no. You're going to have such a tearful ending like that, where the kids have to forcefully give up their Digimon. And then the next time we see them, you're just like, oh, well, they got it back. Cool. I'm not upset about it. Anyway, the main story has the kids stop a Locomon, a trained Digimon, whose presence is creating a huge digital field, so Digimon will be pouring out into the real world real quick. Also, it's Rika's birthday, and the real story explores her relationship with her father, who is rarely mentioned in the show. This OVA is tonal whiplash, man. Like, did Joss Whedon write this one? There's so many jokes and banter between the characters. Now, I'd be fine with all this, except this isn't an adventure. It's fucking Tamers. Yeah, Tamers had jokes and stuff here and there, they weren't serious all the time, but like I said, watching these kids joke around and go on a fun train mission, this is just not Tamers. Yeah, I said I'm not personally into how the show was, but who the fuck cares what I think? That's its identity. Where are the depressed kids? Do I have to kill another Leomon in front of Jerry? I have the footage. It felt really fanservice-y at times too. They really cram every main character into this. Beelzemon shows up for like 5 seconds. What was the point? But yeah, the OVAs, I think they're fine. Again, like the 02 one, I don't really think they're necessary to watch. If you like Tamers, go watch them. Otherwise, just treat them as long filler episodes. Yeah, I'm recording this over multiple days, obviously. There's no way I'm doing this all in one day. I don't know how it was in other parts of the world, but here in the States, while Digimon Tamers was airing, Saban, which was the company that dubbed Digimon, was bought out with Fox and Fox Kids as part of a major deal. And yeah, you know who bought it. The mouse. Yes, that's why all those Digimon Adventure episodes were on Disney-associated channels. Saban still technically dubbed this season under the name Sensation Animation, but remember, that's just the dub. Toei Animation still handled everything else, and I feel like in a direct response as to how serious and different Tamers was, they made the 4th season Digimon Frontier go back to basics and be more lighthearted. Unfortunately, they made it too basic. The story begins with our main character Takuya, the white bread of Goggleheads. He receives a message on his phone to follow his destiny by catching a train in Shibuya. Remember kids, if you get a strange message from a number you don't recognize to go to a strange place far from your home, go there, you'll go on a magical adventure. When he gets to the location, he finds a hidden underground train station and boards one of the trains taking off. On it, he meets 3 other kids, Zoe, JP, and Tommy, who didn't want to get on the train but was pushed on by some bullies right when it took off. While riding on the train, the kids' phones turn into Digivices, the train eventually ending up in, of course, the digital world. When they get there, Tommy immediately wants to leave and stupidly puts himself in danger. When Takuya tries to save him, 2 Digimon, Bokumon and Nemon, run into the kids, running from an evil Digimon, Cerberumon? When it attacks, Takuya finds the Spirit of Fire, which Bokumon explains belonged to one of the legendary warriors. Takuya fuses with the spirit and turns into Agunimon and is able to beat Cerberumon. As the kids start exploring the town they arrive in, another kid, Koji, arrives on another train, which we know now are Locomon.
These guys have no idea what they've gotten themselves into.
Oh yeah, for this season, Rika takes over as the to-be-continued person. But yeah, I personally prefer her over Davis. I like her more, and her snarky comments did get a chuckle out of me every now and then.
Tommy wanted to go home, but he picked a really stupid way to do it.
Welcomon explains that there is a war going on between beast and human-like Digimon, and the kids were likely summoned to use the spirits of the 10 legendary warriors to stop the evil Cherubimon, who commands the beast Digimon, from converting all the digital world into fractal code, basically nothingness. JP and Tommy don't want any of this Digi-nonsense and try to bribe some Pokemon with chocolate to go home. Of course, this backfires and a Pokemon digivolves into a Raremon and attacks the 2. Takuya can't beat it though, but Koji coincidentally finds them and the Spirit of Light and transforms into Lobomon and beats it. He's offered to join the other kids, but declines cause he's our cool loner of the show.
Wolf Boy has some pretty sweet moves, but what's with the attitude?
What's with the attitude? Rika, you of all people have no right to say anything about attitudes. The kids are instructed by the voice of a woman coming from their Digivice to go to the Forest Terminal, where they can get answers to the many questions they have. Stuff happens and Tommy gets the Spirit of Ice, turning into Kumamon, Zoe gets Wind with Kazemon, and JP gets Thunder with Beetlemon. 5 kids meet up again and run into Grumblemon, another legendary warrior that is working for Cherubimon, and has the ability to Slide Evolve, allowing him to switch between a human form and a beast form. They are beaten by him easily and get separated after falling from a mountain. Stuff happens, they reunite, now determined to find their beast forms to power up. Koji gets a ping on his Digivice telling him his beast form is nearby, and it is. After a fight with Grumbles, he gets his beast form Ken no Garurumon and can't control its crazy power yet. Takuya then gets his Burning Greymon and is able to control it because he's the main character. We are also introduced to the other evil legendary warriors Ranamon, Arbormon, Duskmon, and Mercurymon. Eventually, the group makes it to the Forest Terminal and meets Seraphimon, where he exposes to them. There was a great war between beasts and human Digimon until Lucemon and powerful Digimon stopped it. But he got the idea, wait, I'm so powerful, I should be in charge. The Digimon didn't like that, and the 10 legendary warriors rose up to stop him. After that, 3 Digimon were left to watch over everything, Seraphimon, Cherubimon, and Ophanimon, who was revealed to be the voice that has been guiding the kids. Lucemon, who has been sleeping in the dark area, eventually corrupted Cherubimon and had him start the war, which leads into the events happening now. The Dark Legendary Warriors enter Seraphimon's castle and kill him. Very easily. Kinda thought that would be harder. Seraphimon reverts to a Digi-Egg and the kids escape with it, with their mission now to find Ophanimon. On the way, the other 3 kids get their beast forms. The kids have managed to beat several of the Dark Legendary Warriors thanks to these new transformations, but it's different when they run into Duskmon, who destroys them very easily. However, Duskmon hesitates for some reason when he attacks Koji, feeling some sort of connection. After running away and regrouping, Takuya thinks that if they use all their beast forms and attack Duskmon at the same time, he won't stand a chance. But Koji, who actually crossed swords with him, says he's too powerful and they should run and focus on finding Ophanimon. They have to put Takuya's plan into action though when Duskmon attacks again, and Takuya's plan does not work, getting the others captured and Koji gravely injured. Dejected by failing his friends, Takuya in some sort of shadow realm boards a Locomon that takes him back to the real world, as a furry for some reason. He's not just back though, he's back a few moments before he left for the digital world. He then tries to stop himself from going so his friends won't get hurt fighting Duskmon because of him. When trying to do this, he sees a kid following Koji who looks exactly like him. Takuya comes to realize that he shouldn't run from his mistakes and try to act like nothing happened, so he resolves himself to return to the digital world in order to save his friends. And he does it. And they forgive him. That was easy. When the kids try to continue on their journey, they are sucked into a giant Digimon called Sakakumon, with Pokemon and Nemon stuck outside of it. It's pretty much a bunch of rooms that will let the kids free once they beat an enemy. Zoe, JP, and Tommy all do so, each of which ties into their lives in the human world, which I'll talk about later, and they are set free. Takuya fights an Ice Leomon in his room, and yes, I'm counting that as a Leomon death. His name is Ice Leomon, it counts. When the others tell him Koji is still inside and they saw Duskmon going after him, Takuya, even though he opens an exit, stays so he can help Koji. Duskmon finds Koji first, and the two fight, with Duskmon revealing that he is indeed Koji's brother. But Koji is confused because he says he doesn't have a brother. The fight unlocks a new form for Koji, which fuses his human and beast forms, making Beowulfmon. And the two clash so hard, Sakakumon just spits them out, and they go flying off somewhere. Takuya eventually finds Mercurymon waiting for him, and he uses Seraphimon's fractal code that he stole to become Shadow Seraphimon. He easily beats Takuya, but Seraphimon's egg shines and gives Takuya his fused form, Aldamon. He beats Mercurymon and is spat out when Seraphimon's egg hatches into a Patamon. The gang are about to go after Koji and Duskmon, but it is revealed Sakakumon is actually Mercurymon's beast form and attacks them. Then they beat him. While Takuya goes after Koji, the others stay behind and find a rundown Locomon. After helping him, he tells them that Ophanimon is being held in a castle called the Rose Morningstar. He knows this because he was the one that transported her there unknowingly. Koji and Takuya fight Duskmon and manage to break Cherubimon's hold on him. We then learn Duskmon is actually Koichi, who is Koji's twin brother. Okay, I've been saving all the character stuff till the end, it's a little bit of change of pace, but I have to tell you this, because it's pretty stupid. So Koji's mom died when he was younger and lives with his dad and new stepmom. However, what actually happened is they got divorced and the dad took Koji and the mom took Koichi, and for some reason both parents decided to tell the kids that the other parent died and they have no siblings. Like, what the fuck? They're both terrible parents. Who would do that? Koichi only learns of this because his grandma dies and she decided to spill the beans because, well, she's dying anyway. This led Koichi to follow Koji on the day he went to the digital world to try to talk to him. Before he could get to him though, he fell down some stairs and ended up in a coma. This somehow still takes his consciousness to the digital world where Cherubimon found him and turned him into Duskmon. And yeah, you know the rest. Eventually Koichi turns completely on Cherubimon, unlocking his two legendary Digimon forms. I forget their names. Now he's a part of the group. He adds nothing. Eventually the gang make it to the Rose Morningstar castle and find Ophanimon trapped in a cage, but Cherubimon shows up as well, finally deciding to kill them all himself. He does a good job too, managing to kill Ophanimon, who turns into a Digi-Egg and manages to beat the kids easily. They decide with all the warrior spirits gathered, they merge them all, so Takuya becomes Emperor Greymon and Koji becomes Magna Garurumon. Yeah, you may have noticed the other kids don't get any more forms, they're kinda useless now. They've been demoted to Yamcha. They manage to beat Cherubimon, and then weirdly they're attacked by a random Ice Devimon for no reason. I'm only bringing it up because once again the dub at least makes it interesting by making him Christopher Walken.
How delicious! I just knew you were the kind who wouldn't attack if your friends were in danger, but there are things I don't yet know about you humans.
After that, Cherubimon shows up again, but then they beat him for real this time, purifying him and turning him into a Digi-Egg. However, the kids realize even though Cherubimon is defeated, the digital world's fractal code isn't returning like they thought it would. That's because Lucemon has been eating all the code to gain power and sends his two new minions, the Royal Knights, Crusadermon and Dynasmon, to collect the rest of the digital world's data. The Knights prove to be way more powerful than Cherubimon, managing to, no joke, blast the kid straight to one of the digital world's 3 moons. Damn. On that moon we meet Super Starmon, who carries on the legacy of Edamon.
Shake it, don't break it, kiddies. Super Starmon at your service, baby.
Epic. They make it back to the, digital Earth, I guess, and I swear, for the next 7 episodes, play out exactly the same. The kids go to some place they visited before to stop the Knights, they try all episode teaming up with some past character, but they fail in the end, rinse and repeat. With all the digital world reduced to code, Lucemon revives and the kids run to the Yellow Moon, which happens to be the place where Digimon get reborn. We even see the 3 celestial Digimon in their baby forms play, and it's adorable. I didn't mention it in Tamers because I was too busy nitpicking, but Lopmon, cutest Digimon ever. Love him, more Lopmon in every Digimon series. Eventually, Lucemon absorbs the Knights and digivolves to his Chaos mode and destroys the 3 moons. Anyone else getting Majin Buu arc vibes from this? Lucemon then begins opening a portal to the human world so he can do the same there. Nowhere left to run, the kids fight Lucemon head on but get trashed, with Koichi taking a hit to protect everyone, seemingly killing him. With friendship, Takuya and Koji fuse all spirits together to become Susanomon. They beat Lucemon, but it's Digimon. They never beat anyone first try, and he comes back in his Shadow Lord mode. They didn't read that out loud. And he tries to go to the human world again. However, this time, all the kids fuse into Susanomon and power of friendship this motherfucker. And then we get the most hasty wrap-up of the series. The kids go back to the human world where Koichi comes out of his coma. All the kids in like 5 seconds explain how they will live, and it ends. That was Frontier.
But even if I spend time with my family,
Or other friends.
or with our family,
Or just hang around not crying.
I'll be best friends with you guys. Forever!
I'm also going to throw in the OVA here now, Island of Lost Digimon, because it really is just a longer episode of Frontier. It's about the titular island, and the two factions of human type and beast Digimon are constantly fighting each other. But the kids find there are 2 Digimon from each side that want to be friends and don't like to fight. Yep, it's Digimon West Side Story. You can figure out the rest for yourself based on that information. Besides the good twist that the leader of both factions was the same Digimon manipulating everyone, and this being, I think, the only time in the series we see this human-beast prejudice the series keeps talking about, it's an average episode. Only boosted by its better than the show animation all these OVAs have. Also, for some reason, I couldn't find the dubbed version of this. I don't know why, I guess no one cared that much about Frontier. Digimon Frontier, it's not a mixed bag. It doesn't try something so different that it becomes something completely new. It's just okay. Don't believe me? Remember Riko was doing the To Be Continued segments? By episode 42, she left. Yeah, Bokumon did them for the last few. It was so boring, even the To Be Continued person left. The animation, I didn't really notice much difference, so it gets a pass, I guess. Now, there are 2 things I think this series holds over all of the Digimon series, for me anyway. One is the music. The theme song is finally different, not just Digimon, but an actual song with lyrics, and it's really good. It's my favorite dub theme by far.
Look to the past as we head for the future to reclaim the digital world.
You can hear it a little bit in the theme song. The rest of the music, for the most part, uses these wind instruments and drums to add this sort of tribal feeling. It really leans into the whole spirit thing. Another thing I really liked about this show is the digital world, well, the concept of it. Having the main source of transportation be Locomon with all these factories, there's a location where Digimon gather to trade stuff like inventions. Feels like this digital world is in the middle of an industrial revolution, which I think is a really cool idea. Unfortunately, other aspects of it are not so fleshed out. We are constantly told about this human and beast war going on, but throughout the series, the digital world seems to be fine. It never feels like a dark force is threatening everything or a war is happening. It feels like business as usual. You may have noticed the story recap I did was short and skipped over a lot of episodes. That's because I'm just giving you enough information so you can follow along with what I'm talking about during this segment. This is usually character stuff, plot elements, or just things I think are interesting. There's not a lot of that in Frontier. Most episodes are just the kids run into a Digimon, they hang out with them for a while, then continue on their journey. There are a lot of moments that feel like padding, like Sakakumon, which literally traps the kids in one location for several episodes. And it's pretty bad to have your characters stuck in one location when their main goal is usually to get to a certain location. And then when they fought the Knights, it's just they fight them, lose, rinse, repeat. It really makes them look weak. If any Digimon season so far could be described as Monster of the Week or has a lot of filler, it's Frontier. One thing I noticed is this Digimon series is trying to be funny. Not because of the dub throwing in jokes when they can. The actual anime tries to have comedy. I say try because a lot of it doesn't really land with me. One of the main reasons I noticed this is this is the first season so far that uses a lot more funny anime faces. I don't know how else to describe them. The evil legendary warriors, they were very underwhelming. Trubimon is a corrupted villain, so whatever. The Knights being these loyal and overconfident assholes was sort of entertaining, and Lucemon is evil, that's all. The main cast is really underdeveloped. I feel this is because we spend little to no time in the human world to get to know their lives. It's only shown through flashbacks. And their life back home doesn't really influence how they really act to the digital world, so it's pointless to show us anyway. Takuya is definitely a protagonist. He's got the goggles, I can't deny it. The only times I can say he showed good leadership qualities was after he felt guilty when his friends got hurt after fighting with Duskmon due to his plan, and seeing him overcome his self-doubt and face the consequences of his actions. The time where he stays in Sakakumon to help Koji out when he could leave easily, and when he eggs on Koji to free Koichi after finding out they're brothers since Takuya is an older brother himself. The problem is those are rare examples that don't show up often. Koji is the cool loner of the show. He warms up to the group quickly. Like, weirdly quickly. One episode, him and Takuya are at odds. The next episode, they're friends?
I'm not sure I'll ever understand them.
I agree. I do like that they didn't have that character type stretched out for too long. Once that's gone, he's also boring. In his home life, he lives with his dad and new stepmom, and his deal is how he can't get along with her. That's it. It barely even comes up. What's the point of telling us about it then? Koichi, besides being his brother and being a Green Ranger type character with him being used for evil before joining the good, he is there. When he joins the Digidestined, he does not add a single thing. Do any of you actually like Koichi? If you do, tell me what does this guy add when he joins the group, because I don't see a single thing he contributes. There's no new group dynamic, they don't get stronger as a unit, he's completely useless, and often I forget he was there until he said something. Tommy was shaping up to be a good character. His home life I thought was interesting, with him being the baby of his family, his parents coddle him, giving him anything he wants, and his brother hates him for this, and constantly tells him that he needs to learn to fend for himself because mom and dad aren't always going to help him. This obviously comes true since he's forced to go to the digital world, and he's bullied constantly, and they can't really do anything about it. So coming here and gaining the spirit's powers, he has to start facing the problem by himself and starting to act more grown up. What makes it so underwhelming is he learns this lesson constantly. Every episode around him, he learns this lesson. There's an episode where they meet his bullies who have been living in the digital world since the start of the show. This should be a satisfying conclusion to his arc, confronting the people that forced him into the situation that actually turned out to be a good thing for him. They even keep bullying him, not knowing what he's been up to all this season. They think he's the same little wimp, but all that happens is the kids save them and the bullies are like, sorry man, let's be friends. The most generic way to end that kind of plot. JP and Zoe have the same backstory, how they suck at making friends, but for different reasons. JP can't make friends because... I don't know why. The only glimpse we see is he gets his classmates' attention by showing off his cool new trading cards in games, and then no one shares an umbrella with him when it rains, so he's a friendless loser. I seriously don't get why people don't want to be his friend. You're telling me there's no kid who would befriend the guy in class who always has the coolest new shit? I assume the angle was you can't bribe people into being your friend, but he doesn't really do that. He just shows off what his parents bought him and no one cares. The only other defining aspect of him is his crush on Zoe and how it's implied he wants to fuck her Digimon forms. Ugh. Speaking of Zoe, it took 4 seasons, but it finally happened, where I have to describe the female lead as girl. Zoe's thing about not making friends makes more sense. She lived abroad in Italy for her childhood, so returning to Japan she feels like an outsider due to a cultural barrier. Again though, they fuck this up with her flashbacks. She acts like she doesn't give a shit, she's like she's barely trying. They say it's because she's shy, but she also says that it's because she doesn't want to pretend that she's someone she's not. Which is it? Digimon Frontier is not a good show. I really wanted to come into this defending it and saying, it's not that bad guys, it's underrated. But no, it's pretty bland. With a story that feels fleshed out but doesn't pay off on any of the stuff it preaches and characters that could be exchanged for any run-of-the-mill kids anime, it's no wonder you often hear, yeah, I stopped watching at the one where they turn into Digimon. Before we move on to the next series though, did you know that there's a standalone movie not based on any anime? It's called Digimon X Evolution. It's boring. Besides Leomon dying in the first 5 minutes, I was bored out of my mind. I do not give a shit about Digimon politics. I can't think of anything more boring. I said it before and I'll say it again, the Digimon world is not interesting. Especially a movie that is all about Digimon, no humans. I think this is a first. Also, this CG. Wow. I know it's early CG, but it looks like PS1. And this is 2005, after Toy Story 2, and Jimmy Neutron, and Crash Bandicoot. I expect better, Digimon. I got nothing else to say, it's a boring movie. I can't even recap it because I forgot literally everything that happens in it, and to do that I would have to rewatch it, which I'm not gonna do. I guess this is why they stuck to OVAs and not movies, cause yikes. Well, needless to say, Frontier did not do well, and it took 3 years for Toei to make the next Digimon series, Digimon Savers. But unlike other Digimon series that would air in America only a few months after its Japanese premiere, this one took a full year to come here, and it was renamed Digimon Data Squad. One major difference of this series is how I wanted to appeal to an older audience, less kids, more preteen. So the style changed to being less cartoony, and they aged up the characters being around 16 to 18. I didn't really care about that though. By this point in my life I was 10ish and I still love Digimon, however I hated the concept of this one as a kid. I was like, what is this? Digimon Cops? That sounds so stupid. Besides checking out an episode here or there and playing the godlike Digimon DS game that was released with it, I mainly avoided it until today. So is this a sleeper hit that I'm regretting all these years later never getting into? I think, no joke, Digimon Data Squad is the worst season of Digimon. Our story begins with our main character. Well, usually it does, but I don't see him anywhere. I guess to change it up, we start on this guy Marcus, who's fighting an Agumon. After exchanging fists, the two form a friendship. However, a woman named Yoshi comes to explain to him that she's a member of DATS, the Digital Accident Tactics Squad, that's what it stands for. She takes him to their headquarters and he meets the commander, Richard Sampson, and the computer operators, Miki and Megami. They explain they are in charge of finding and subduing Digimon that escape the digital world. This Marcus guy keeps being insistent that Agumon's not bad, but they consider him to be a renegade since he doesn't have a tamer. When the holy anime monument of WickDonald's is attacked, Dats very quickly assume that it's Agumon doing it, and Marcus rushes there. When he shows up, it's not Agumon, but Kakatorimon, and Agumon has just been wandering around. Agumon and Marcus fight the thing, but can't scratch it. That's when a mysterious old man shows up and gives him a Digivice, referred to as Digivice IC. These work differently than past ones. To get a Digimon to Digivolve, the tamer has to infuse it with their DNA. Not exactly sure how it fully works, and I don't care. The best part, though, is for Marcus to get a DNA charge, he punches the Digimon. It's so stupid, I can't help but love it. He gets Agumon to Digivolve into Geogreymon. Oh, new toy. They beat the thing, and Yoshi still tries to take Agumon away because civilians can't have Digimon, so Marcus runs. The next day, Marcus is trying to hide Agumon from his... You know, we're focusing a lot on this Marcus guy. When are we going to get to the main character? Wait. Is Marcus the protagonist? That can't be. Where the fuck are his goggles? I can take a lot of things, Digimon. Not following up on cool ideas, lame puns, too melodramatic, all of Frontier. But the day you give me a protagonist that doesn't have goggles, you fucked it up. You went too far. Okay. We're all heated. From this information, I know, I get it. We need to calm down, to take a second, to breathe, process this information, okay? No, I'm not over it. Well, I gotta continue anyway, I guess. Goggleless Head tries to hide Agumon from his Emoto Christie and hot-ass mom Sarah, but they find out about him quickly with Yoshi showing up too. Yoshi says that Dats is willing to let him keep Agumon as long as he joins them. He refuses, leading to Yoshi pestering him about it as the chief really wants Marcus to join for some reason. Later, the two find out that a kid at Christie's school is being possessed by a Digimon. Yeah, they can possess people like ghosts. The two fight it, and during the fight, Yoshi shows her power with her partner Lalabon. After the fight, Marcus joins Dats because... The next episode, we're introduced to the final member, Thomas, and his partner Galmon. He's the cool loner of the show. Him and Marcus do not get along, and this keeps them from capturing a rogue Dromogamon that is helping some bank robbers. The Dromogamon escapes to the digital world, and to make up for their mistakes, Marcus and Thomas go into the digital world to find him. Yet Dats has a portal to the digital world in their headquarters. It's just there. They succeed, and the two manage to beat it. They return, with them now not liking each other, but having come to some sort of understanding. Then we enter a bunch of filler episodes. The plot kicks off again when a Digi-Egg appears at Marcus's house and it becomes a Biomon, and Christy becomes attached to it. Dats can't have normies using Digimon though, so they plan to run tests on her against her will and inject her with drugs? What the fuck? You were the good guys, right? Falcomon comes from the digital world to bring Biomon back, but then Marukimon, the leader of the Digimon or something, comes to the real world to bring Falcomon back and even reverts Biomon to a Digi-Egg. Biomon, wanting to protect Christy, hatches easily and digivolves to Ultimate, wreaking havoc. In order to protect his family, Marcus gets his ultimate level with Rise Greymon. He's got a gun for an arm. Epic. Dats agents, now thinking Marukimon is planning an attack on the human world, go to the digital world to stop him. Also, it is revealed Marcus's father Spencer led an expedition to the digital world years ago and never returned. Also, he was one of the founders of Dats. Also, he created Digivices. Wow, he does everything. Nothing sparks this, by the way. The commander just tells him. He could have told him at any time, but didn't. Also, his mom knew too and never told him. This is used as some, oh my god, reveal, but it's like, if Marcus knew this information any sooner, nothing about the story would have changed. When Marcus, Yoshi, and Thomas go to the digital world, they meet a child, Keenan, who's Falcomon's partner. He has been raised in the digital world and thinks he is a Digimon. And despite the fact that Digimon speak perfect English, for some reason this kid talks in broken English.
You humans heard Cherrymon! Now leave before we make you go!
Like, for fuck's sake, Guilmon spoke better than this kid. Anyway, they travel through the digital world and Yoshi and Thomas get their ultimate Digimon. Once they find Marukimon, they also find the mysterious old man that gave Marcus his Digivice. He has also been appearing sporadically throughout the show. It is revealed he is Yushima, the chief of Dats and a member of the Digital World Exploration Party. He stays behind there while the others return to the real world along with Keenan. Who, through interacting with DATs, he now has his doubts about his origin and about humans being these murderous psychopaths like he always been taught. Commander then reveals that Keenan's real parents are the Criers, scientists a part of the exploration team. The commander was a part of it as well. The reason for the expedition was that as a baby, Keenan was sucked into the digital world during the Criers' experiments, and the team went in there to retrieve him. Obviously they didn't do that. Later, a Saber Leomon arrives and attacks the humans, and Marcus punches his tooth off. This is after some ultimate Digimon couldn't even face him, by the way. You know what, No Goggles? You're alright. Just buy some protective eyewear for fuck's sake. The team managed to beat Saber Leomon with the help of a man named Kurata, the last member of the expedition team who will now lead the DATS team on one final journey to the digital world to stop Marukimon. Once there, Marukimon identifies Kurata as the big bad behind everything. During the expedition, Kurata sees Digimon as all evil beasts and wants to kill them. What horrible thing did the Digimon do to him to garner such hatred? A Digimon attacked him once. Hearing that Kurata was also the one that killed Keenan's Digimon mother, and after he kills Marukimon, Keenan uses his emotions to get Falcomon's ultimate form. The team returns to the real world, but for some reason the government believes Kurata because, I don't know. They think all of DATs are now traitors and they imprison all of them. Except for the main three, they just erase their memories. Yeah, DATS has a memory erasing machine. Again, DATS, you're supposed to be the good guys, right? And they erase the memories of the three main characters, but for some reason they don't do that to Keenan, Miki, or Megami? Why? They also capture the Digimon, but they manage to escape and bring their Tamers' memories back. That's when the three mains decide to go back to the digital world to stop Kurata's genocide. There they meet the biohybrids, three humans that can turn into Digimon, or they're Digimon that turn into humans. I don't know, I don't care, they don't stay around long. After fending them off, the three DATS members' Digivices just break. They then meet a Bancho Leomon who instructs them on how to control their DNA, and all three of them just get their megaforms. After one episode of training, they just get them. They meet back up with Yushima in a city on a giant Digimon called Eldoradimon. Eventually, Kurata creates a portal between the two worlds, bringing Eldoradimon and everyone on it to the human world. Oh yeah, the Biofreaks or whatever, they got beaten really easily, they're gone now. In the middle of this, Thomas is brought to his dad and really sick sister. No, this is not me forgetting to have mentioned them earlier, this is the first time they've ever shown up. As it turns out, Kurata says he can cure his really sick sister if he cooperates with him, and Thomas agrees. He goes to fight Marcus, and him seeing that Thomas has betrayed them, he goes apeshit, and this forces Shine Greymon, the Megaform, to become evil. Christy shows up though and smacks Marcus out of it, and this gets Shine Greymon to revert back to a Digi-Egg. Kurata then reveals his true evil plan. It's to revive and control an ancient Digimon named Belphemon, and rule over both worlds as king. Turns out this whole time Thomas was playing him and betrays him. Thomas, you couldn't include any of your friends in on this? No? Okay. Kurata then fuses with Belphemon. All the DATS agents try to fight Belphemon, but don't do well. Marcus, seeing his friends need him, decides to return to the fight despite only having a Digi-Egg. Okay, I gotta say this now. You know Marcus this whole time has been punching these huge imposing Digimon, right? And for some reason, this whole time, he never just punches the fuck out of this stringy limp dick scientist. Just saying, this whole show could have been over 20 episodes ago. Agumon's Digi-Egg hatches and Digivolves fast, and Marcus with friendship powers unlocks a new form, Burst Mode. The best way I can describe it is it's like a new level of Super Saiyan. It's stronger, but you don't really understand how it's stronger. They beat Kurata, but as a last-ditch effort, he blows a hole between the two worlds that goes out of control and kills him in the process. Now the two worlds are colliding, and to prevent this, Bancho Leomon uses all of his power to keep the two worlds apart. I know, calm down. We'll get there, trust me. Turns out the real villain is a guy named King Drazel, King of Digimon, and his Royal Knights. Wait, I've seen this somewhere before. He plans to make sure the digital world is the only world left standing once Bancho Leomon's power runs out and the two worlds eventually collide. When Marcus goes to punch him, he sees the one face he can't punch. His daddy, Spencer Damon, is King Drazel, the big bad guy. Marcus stays in the digital world to find out what the fuck, while the others stay in the human world to stop the Knights. During all this, the other DATS agents get their super special burst modes, and Christy reunites with Biomon. Marcus finds King Dad and punches him, but for some reason, it does nothing. That's all Marcus has. All hope is lost now. Just then, Biomon arrives and reveals he is Spencer Damon. Due to some shenanigans, King Drazel, in order to find out more about humans, takes over Spencer's body, while Spencer is transferred to Bancho Leomon, who he befriended in the digital world. So they can put a stop to Drazel, Leomon, Spencer holds him to sacrifice himself in order to stop him. And now we update the counter. See, it all worked out. Dr. Drazel survives, though, and enters his final form, this Shin Megami Tensei-esque boss. And he reveals that he's actually a giant AI computer thing that controls everything in the digital world. And this is when I realized when watching this, none of it mattered because it's the last episode. Everyone lends Marcus their energy, and he power of friendship punches Drazel. Dr. Drazel doesn't really lose. He's just like, okay, I guess I was wrong about humans, and fucks off until the next episode. Not like the next episode of the show, you know, because it's the last episode. It was a joke, you know, it's Dr. Dre reference. I mean, it's a thing. Hasty wrap-up time. With the worlds back apart, Spencer somehow gets his body back, and no, the Leomon death stays. We don't see its body. Actually, let's add another one, because Saber Leomon counts, right? He died. He's a Leomon, so it's another counter. Don't actually tell me if he's alive or not. I don't care. The counter's staying. The Digimon partners all decide to go back to the digital world to help rebuild, with Marcus going with them. 5 years later, Christy and Keenan go to school together. The DATS agents are cops. I guess they weren't before. Thomas became a scientist and cured his really sick sister, who's now really healthy sister. And Marcus goes around the digital world beating people up.
Ready, Agumon? Yeah!
The show was so boring. I give my opinion on the theme song, but I forgot it. And when writing the script, and as I'm recording this, I didn't bother looking it up because I just remember it was bad. The good news is I do have to listen to it again eventually when I'm editing this because I have to put the footage in. So how's the theme song, future me?
It sucks.
The animation. Okay. I hate the way this show looks. Not just the art style, but it looks really cheap. Very often it feels the characters are off model. The coloring and shading feels off too. It just doesn't feel as polished, which is saying something considering past Digimon seasons weren't exactly the pinnacle of animation. I guess that before I start shitting on this, I should say what I actually liked about this show. Okay, I like the Damon family, actually. I like how Spencer was basically a protagonist of his own story before this one began. Christy and Sarah are actually my favorite characters. Not only is Christy funny when she needs to be, I really sympathize with her when she lost Biyomon too. Probably the only time in this show I felt something. Sarah basically gave advice to almost every younger character, usually guiding them on the right path despite not knowing exactly what's going on. Also, she's a MILF. Marcus I actually enjoyed as a protagonist, not for the reasons I think they wanted me to. The fact he punches Digimon is so hilarious, it almost makes up for not having goggles. No, it doesn't. Buy some fucking goggles. Yeah, that's actually all I have to say about Marcus. I just like the fact that he punched Digimon. His personality the rest of the time is just like generic fight everybody guy. I don't know how to describe him. That's really the only thing I thought was cool about him. Yeah, that's everything I liked about the show. Now, okay, first, the story sucks. Kurata is a lame villain. His whole reason for killing Digimon because they attacked him once is so weak. I guess that's the point since he reveals later he just wants to take over the world or whatever. I just don't know how much it irked me, the fact that they could easily beat this guy many times. He would just show up without any protection, and Marcus could just punch him, but he never does. Like, they fucking fight huge Digimon all the time, but they never take on a bunch of humans. It's so stupid. Or how about the time Thomas faked being aligned with him? He was alone with this motherfucker constantly. He could have had Galmon punch him, or he could have punched him. Someone just should have punched him. He should not have been this much of a threat. King Drazel sucks ass. He's just a generic, I am a god and I judge all humans to suck because I said so. He's basically the true final boss of an SMT game. All the revelations that happened, like the stuff with Spencer, Keenan's past, the expedition, all that should not have been revelations. This information could have been told to our characters at any time and the story would not have been affected. It would play out the exact same way. The other characters are lame, Thomas is boring, he gets the standard, he's a rich boy but his daddy didn't love him. The same backstory they give all rich characters. There were some times I thought he was interesting and he had something going on. He apparently saw his mom die in front of him in a traffic accident, but it's brought up in one episode and never talked about again. Probably my favorite episode with him was the one where he took Christy out for her birthday as a favor for Marcus. Being alone all his life, he plans all these things like dining at a fancy restaurant, horseback riding, all this fancy shit he thinks she'll enjoy, but she just wants to do normal kid shit like go to an arcade, eat at her favorite local restaurant. It's a good Christy episode, really highlighted the strong points of her character. Wait, I was talking about the blonde one, wasn't I? Yoshi is girl. Well, that's unfair. She does have a personality. I especially like her when she's fed up with dealing with Marcus and Thomas's bullshit. She kinda acts like an older sister. Apparently she has heavy self-esteem issues due to her past, but again, it's only brought up in episodes where it matters, and then never again. They focus way too much on Keenan, man. I don't find him interesting. His thing of being a human raised in the digital world, I don't care. This whole time I'm just waiting for the moment he realizes he's human because you know that's the direction they're going to go because they're not going to try to do anything different with it. The way he talks pissed me off so much. Why does he talk in broken English? The Digimon speak perfect English. The other side characters suck, don't care about them. Yeah, I don't have much else to say. This was the worst Digimon season in my opinion. Boring characters, predictable and drawn out story, uninteresting antagonists, unmemorable music, bare minimum animation. The only thing the series did was kick off the Digimon story series on the DS. That's the only good thing it did. Alright, this sucked. Next season. Oh, wait, right, I forgot. Sorry, I just want to get this over with so quick, I forgot. There are some OVAs we gotta look at. So, there were 2 OVAs made for Data Squad. First one is Digimon Savers 3D, The Digital World in Imminent Danger. It's shit. The other one, Ultimate Power Burst Mode Activated, I have to admit is actually pretty good, as is that name. The reason I find it good is because it was fun. I had fun watching this. I could tell the people making it had fun making it. The story revolves around a Digimon called Argamon destroying the city, and all the humans, including Dats, have been put in a weird sleep state. The Digimon, Agumon, Galmon, and Lalamon, who are unaffected by it, meet another Digimon named Rhythm. Yes, she's a Digimon. I know. Just go with it. It's just a short story of the Digimon fighting Argamon and trying to free their Tamers. That's it. Yeah, it's nothing special, but compared to the rest of Data Squad, it's a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. It's a tightly written script with fun action, a real threat, some nice drama, and a good kaiju fight to end it. That's all I need. That's all I want in my Digimons. It's like, that's it. It's simple, guys. I especially love the animation in this. There's this fight scene at the beginning against a bunch of Goblimon in a restaurant, and it's amazing. Lalamon uses sausage nunchucks and does a Bruce Lee impression. How can you not love that? There are even bloopers at the end. I love when animated projects take the time to make blooper reels. It's so charming. Yeah, Digimon Savers Ultimate Power Burst Mode activated. I was surprised it was a fun time. Save yourself from the pain I went through. If you're interested in Data Squad, don't watch the series, just watch this OVA and play the DS game. Trust me. Well, the next series, titled Digimon Cross Wars, yes, it's pronounced cross, aired in Japan 3 years after Savers in 2010. However, we didn't get it in the States until 2013, a full year after it finished airing in Japan, retitled Digimon Fusion. This was the last Digimon TV series to be dubbed and broadcast in the States. Why was that? I don't know or care. Our tale begins with the gogglehead who does it all, Mikey Kudo. He's a super cool basketball star that everyone loves, but overworks himself trying to please everyone. Luckily, his friend Angie is always there to take care of him when he faints from exhaustion. Dude, see a doctor. There's also Jeremy, the self-proclaimed rival of Mikey. He's also an epic gamer. I know this because he makes epic gamer references.
Never put an item in your inventory until you know its capabilities and whether it's safe or not. Every gamer knows that.
The 3 of them witness a strange car accident when a car gets stuck in a building. Then Mikey hears a voice asking for his help, and when he says he will help them, the kids are taken to the digital world. There they meet Shoutmon, the voice Mikey heard earlier. He wants to be king of the Digimon. No, really, he wants to be the Digimon king, that's the goal. To do this, he needs to get all of the Code Crown fragments hidden in a different zone in the digital world. Get all the One Piece crowns, you're the king. There are other factions trying to do this too, including other humans, Christopher, the cool loner of the show, and Nene, a mysterious girl watching over everyone, as well as the main antagonist, the Bagra army led by Bagramon. The Bagra army is overseen by several generals, featuring nerfed Lilithmon. Oh, sorry, Laylamon, because we can't have any reference to religion in kid shows. Shoutmon needs Mikey because he can use the Fusion Loader. Yeah, it's not called a Digivice anymore. What it does is allow humans to fuse 2 or more Digimon together to create a more powerful form. Shoutmon fuses with other Digimon and becomes Shoutmon times 3, times 5, times 7, you get the picture. Mikey agrees to help him with Angie and Jeremy tagging along, as they think they'll find a portal back home eventually. They call their army the Fusion Fighters, dedicated to saving the digital world. Okay, so here's where Fusion is a little bit different and weirder than most other Digimon series. This is the longest series to date with 78 episodes, and it's the only season that has its own seasons, divided into 3 separate ones out of all the 78 episodes. The problem is that what takes place in these seasons is a lot of nothing. The structure of the first 2 seasons of Fusion follow the same format. The team goes to a new zone, each zone having at least 2 or 3 episodes dedicated to it. The kids meet nice Digimon, usually being impressed by some evil Digimon. The team fight it, they beat it, they get the code crown, go to the next one. Eventually, Mikey finds these SD cards that are all based on legendary Digimon. They only work one time and then never again, but usually deliver some powerful attack or gives the hero some advantage. Eventually, one of the Bagra army generals, Reapmon, gets trapped with Mikey, and the two start to form a bond. When Reapmon is mortally wounded by Lilithmon, Mikey trying to revive him gives him strength and allows him to be reborn as Beelzemon. Oh shit, I hope Leomon isn't in this series. Also, it's important to note, he is reborn. This is not Digivolution, that is important. Eventually we'll learn more about Nene, as she has been watching Mikey and Christopher from the shadows up until now. Turns out she has a dark fusion loader and works for a new faction called Midnight, led by Axe Nightmon. Even though he is obviously evil, we learn Nene joined him because when she came to the digital world, her brother Ewan was separated from her, and Axe Nightmon tells her he has him and if she wants him back, she has to obey him. Mikey and Christopher team up to fight Midnight and the Bagra army, who form a brief alliance. During this fight, Mikey convinces Nene that Axe Nightmon is an evil prick and probably won't give Ewan back when this is all done. Even though she knows this, she still does what he says because she doesn't have any other options. But Mikey promises if she joins them, he'll help her save her brother, and she agrees. Eventually, partially thanks to Jeremy of all people, her fusion loader stops being evil and she becomes a part of the group. She doesn't travel with them, she goes off on her own to find information on her brother, but she's an ally now. Also, I want to mention that she has these Monotamon, which are like ninja scouting Digimon, and I love them, they're hilarious.
And only the best of the best are allowed to go on missions.
But Nenes aren't very good at anything.
At least we're the best at that.
Eventually, the Fusion Fighters get the last code crown, each faction now holding it. Everyone drives their loudest cars when I'm recording, I swear to God. Eventually, the Fusion Fighters get the last code crown, each faction now holding a sizable amount. So, you think it's about to be an all-out war where they all fight to get the rest, right? Nope, because Bagramon, leader of the Bagra army, who's been sitting on his ass all season, does something for once and manages to beat all of the other factions with one hand, and he obtains all the code crowns. Wow, it was that easy, huh? During this, Mikey, Angie, and Jeremy are blasted away and somehow end up back in the human world. Mikey notices all the Digimon in his fusion loader are gone except for Shoutmon, who's come to the human world with them. They realize the digital world in Fusion acts on OG rules. Being gone for weeks there, barely a day has passed in the human world. Despite finally making it home, the three agree that their friends are still in danger, so they want to go back to the digital world to help them. While they're trying to figure out how to get back, Tactimon arrives in the human world. He's another Bagra army general, he's been a reoccurring antagonist throughout the series. I didn't mention him until now because he's not very interesting. While he goes on a rampage trying to find Mikey, the kids find the entity that sent them to the digital world, one of the legendary Digimon cards containing Omnimon. He sent Mikey there originally to stop Lord Bagra, and agrees to send him back so he can stop him for good this time. But he can only send Mikey back because of his weakening powers. Tactimon finds the kids before Mikey can go back, and when he's about to kill Angie and Jeremy, overcome with emotion and power, Shoutmon, for the first time in the series, digivolves into Omni Shoutmon. He beats Tactimon with the power of friendship, and Mikey leaves Angie and Jeremy to go back to the digital world. But the two promise they will find a way to get back. Mikey says he doesn't doubt for a second that he will see them again. Ending Season 1. This begins the second season, subtitled The Evil Death Generals in the Seven Kingdoms. I don't think they read some of these names out loud. Mikey returns to the digital world, and a lot of time has passed, even though it's only been a day for him, it's been several weeks there. He runs into Nene, who tells him the digital world has now been divided into 7 locations, each ruled by their own Dark General. Yes, they call them that in the dub because you can't say death in a kid's show. Her and Christopher have been trying their best to fight back, but with Mikey gone and his Digimon captured, things haven't been great. Thanks to Mikey's leadership and the power of Digivolution, they managed to save Mikey's Digimon and beat the first Dark General. Nene even manages to convince Christopher to team up with them since they all have a common enemy now. I haven't really mentioned Christopher much because he hasn't really mattered until now. He had some stuff in the first season, but the second one, with him being a part of the main group now, he actually serves more of a purpose. So this is the new team, Mikey, Nene, and Chris. I like this better. I already forgot about what's their names. The next Dark General features Lopmon, the greatest Digimon ever, and a new Myotismon. Also, Mikey and Christopher discover that they can combine their Digimon with each other and they're able to transfer them between fusion loaders. The next Dark General is small, that's his thing, but more importantly it introduces Mervamon, another Digimon like Lilithmon who got nerfed in the dub. But yeah, Mervamon is one of the reasons why you shouldn't watch the dub. She also joins them as one of Nene's Digimon. Prodigious. After defeating Small Boy, the gang find Ewan, Nene's missing brother. Although he isn't captured, he's actually having the time of his life, because Axe Nightmon told him that the digital world and everything in it is just a game and no one's really getting hurt. So he's manipulated into being the new owner of the Dark Fusion Loader and attempts to kill the Fusion Fighters, even his own sister, since it's all just data to him. They manage to fend him off though, but he promises to return and win the game. After fighting 2 more Dark Generals that only serve to add backstory to 2 Digimon characters I have not mentioned, so fuck it, they arrive at the kingdom ruled by Gravimon. Gravimon does the whole, hey, loner kid, you should go fight the main character so you can go through some development, you know, like all the Digimons do. And Chris is like, Yeah, I guess it's about that time. We'll learn more about Christopher's past. I was going to explain it all, but I realized I can kind of just describe him as the Digimon version of Kaiba. Just no Mokuba is involved. If you know, you know. During the fight between Mikey and Christopher Boy, one of Chris's Digimon sacrifices himself to show him the error of his ways, and the group manages to beat Gravimon after teaming back up. There's only one more general left, and it's AppliMon, a good Digimon, who only agreed to be a Dark General in order to keep his land safe. Thanks to Uin, AppliMon becomes corrupted, and the group attempt to save him while beating Uin. During this epic battle, Beelzemon gets mortally wounded but hides it from everyone. Uin's Digimon Tuarmon also gets a mortal wound. Everyone's dying. Mikey manages to somewhat convince Uin after punching him, and Uin realizes it hurts. The good old Marcus Damon special, never fails. He's taken away by Skull Knightmon, although Uin now is starting to doubt all he's been told. The evil AppliMon, called AppliMon Whispered, fuses Lilithmon and another general whose name I forgot, to become super big, bad, and scary. They start destroying everything, and in order to get the Fusion Fighters to safety, Beelzemon sacrifices himself, allowing everyone to continue on and fight. Yeah, karma's a bitch. Regrouping after those events, the Fusion Fighters still have to put a stop to AppliMon Whispered. They manage it with the help from the good side of him, still having a bit of control, allowing him to sacrifice himself. And now all 7 Dark Generals have been defeated. Uin, meanwhile, while seeing his Digimon die, realizes he fucked up, and that he has been going around killing innocent creatures for fun, and even tried to kill his own sister. Whoops. The Fusion Fighters arrive in Pandemonia, the location where Bagramon is, but they're intercepted by Axe Knightmon, who uses that revival jutsu from Naruto to bring back all the Dark Generals. Despite being overwhelmed, the team get a chance when the good version of AppliMon sacrifices himself again, and another Dark General, Olegmon, switches sides, having sort of befriended Mikey in his episodes. Having driven off Axe Knightmon and defeating all the generals a second time, they go to rescue Uin again. However, the real Bagramon finally shows up. He reveals that now that he has all his power, he plans to go to the human world. How? Well, Tactimon from last season lost his sword there, and Bagramon uses it as a beacon to allow him to find his way there. Using his multi-dimensional arm thing, he begins draining all energy from the human world, turning everyone to stone. Angie and Jeremy are still there, of course, with it only being a few minutes since Mikey left there. They are almost drained as well, but are saved by a mysterious voice. Back at Pandemonia, Bagramon is about to go to the human world, but is betrayed by Axemon, who literally stabs him in the back, and force digifuses them to become Darkest Axe Knightmon. They definitely don't read these out loud. Amongst this chaos, Mikey, who has infiltrated Bagramon's castle, manages to save Uin. But before Darkest Axe Knightmon can go to the human world, Bagra proves to be more powerful mentally and metaphysically, destroying Axe Knightmon on the inside. And then he becomes Mega Darkness Bagramon. This has to be a joke, right?
Great, another name change.
You're telling me, Chris. Mega Darkness Bagramon goes to the human world and runs all over the Fusion Fighters, managing to kill Shoutmon and sending the rest of them into purgatory. However, when they are there, they see Angie and Jeremy, revealing the voice that saved them were 2 more legendary Digimon cards of Wargreymon and Examon, who tell them not to give up hope and they can still save Shoutmon in both worlds. With their powers combined, they use every legendary Digimon card the characters have collected up until this point. Also, Uin begins to come to terms with what he did and gets a regular fusion loader. While the team fights Mega Darkness Bagramon. How did the voice actors say this without laughing? Mikey and Angie go inside his body. If they can purify this thing called the Dark Stone, which is actually a corrupted version of the Code Crown, Shoutmon should come back. They managed to do so, and not just Shoutmon, but all the Digimon that died come back. Death is meaningless. With the power of the Code Crown and all the fusion loaders, they fuse everyone, making Shoutmon times 7 superior mode. Okay, they've been doing this Shoutmon times something for every Digimon it fuses with, right? It is really upsetting that for this epic last fusion that uses every Digimon, they just add superior mode. That's fucking lame. Go all out. Call it like Shoutmon times 1,000,000 or infinity. That's way cooler. Anyway, they use the power of friendship times 10 billion, there's another one for you, to beat Mega Darkness Bagramon. Unfortunately, it is the last time I will be saying that. And now we hastily wrap it up with all the Digimon going back to the digital world and the humans continue with their lives. But Mikey thinks his adventures aren't over yet. Well, in America they are, kid.
Man, I wish I could see what happens when everyone gets home. I bet you want to know what's happening there too. Well, maybe we'll find out. But that's a story for another time.
Hey, Mikey! Where are you going?
Wait up, dude!
So that was the first 2 seasons of Digimon Fusion. I'll give my thoughts and opinions on them now since Season 3 is an entirely different entity. Yeah, I thought Fusion was okay. It kept my attention, which is better than Data Squad. The theme song I did not like at first. It's this techno beat that I'm sure I only started liking because I was forced to listen to it 50 plus times. The animation's okay, nothing spectacular. In terms of art design, there are a lot of sharp angles, especially on the Digimon. I guess it's like the vibe of this season that everything looked more mechanical with screws on the Mons. I guess it makes it easier to make them into toys. I don't like it. The story never flowed nicely for me because of how formulaic it is. Watching it, I never feel tension or suspense because I know by episode 3 everything will be solved. Of course, there are some parts that subvert this, but it's still usually 3 episodes per zone, and when it does do that, it's toward the end of a season. All the bad guys are very generic evil, so nothing to say about them. I guess Uin being the spoiled brat that thought it was a game was the most interesting. I've seen this before with Digimon Emperor and Rika. I think Uin works the best with this concept, not only because it's his own actions, he's not being controlled, manipulated yes, but he can stop anytime he wants. I think having him be younger too helps sell him being tricked since he probably doesn't know any better. Angie and Jeremy are there. Honestly, I don't think they add anything in season 1, and I didn't miss them when they were gone. I don't dislike them, but they serve more as comic relief. I just didn't find it funny. Angie really didn't contribute much, I feel, unfortunately, making her the girl in my mind. Jeremy had some stuff to do, mostly about proving he's as good as Mikey, and he did help in turning Nene to the good side, so I felt he had some purpose. Christopher is Kaiba. I don't want to say anything more than that. Nene, again, is a character I don't dislike. When she became a part of the group, I wasn't happy about it either. It was just like, oh, neat. Well, she carried around Mervermon, so I love her for that. Mikey as a main character is not one I like. He's super helpful and hardly fails, and everyone who meets him almost instantly likes him. He's like the most generic shonen protagonist. I do like that they have a reason for him acting this way. It's because one day he saw a kid who didn't look too good, but he ignored them, and then he sees that he was really sick and an ambulance had to take him to the hospital, and I guess he died, I don't know. But after that, he decided to never ignore someone in need again. That did have me empathize with him more, but ultimately I just found him uninteresting. I never felt like there was a situation he wasn't going to find his way out of, you know? I knew he was always going to win. So yeah, I thought the first 2 seasons of Fusion were okay television. I guess most people thought it was worse than that because the 3rd season did not receive an English dub. The 3rd season of Fusion is weird, man. It is an entirely different show. Now for the record, despite for this season, there are a lot of things that are going to be referred to in their original Japanese names. I'm going to keep referring to them with their English names, just so this doesn't get too confusing, okay? It is subtitled The Young Hunters Who Leapt Through Time, which is not only a reference to the director of the original Digimon Adventure, Mamoru Hosada's anime film, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but of course references what we all know this season for, a big crossover with all the main characters from all the Digimon series so far. This is because at the time in 2012, this season aired during the 15th anniversary of Digimon, the franchise as a whole, with the first virtual pet releasing in 1997. I could talk about the season and the characters, story arcs, but nah. Taking place a year after season 2, 2 of the main characters are returning with Mikey and Uin. But we get a new protagonist, the hyperactive gogglehead, Tagiru. He's okay. He's an energetic idiot type of character, like he fucks up and annoys everyone, but he has a good heart. I personally prefer this type of MC than the kind Mikey was. He works better on the side IMO. We do see the other characters from Fusion as well, Angie, Chris, Jeremy, Nene, Uncensored Mervermon, hell yeah. There are also these new rival tamers, they're not that interesting. This season is the most episodic ever. You can skip almost any episode and miss nothing. The story is that a new digital-esque world called DigiQuartz that runs parallel to the real world has appeared, and a mysterious old man is going around giving fusion loaders to kids so they can tame and battle their Digimon. Why? No reason. Well, it's to ultimately fight the big bad at the end, but there's no initial reason why the kids do this other than it's cool, I guess. At least Mikey and Uin have a reason because they have experience with Digimon, and them running wild in the real world is a problem they know they can help with. This is the time I think Digimon tried its hardest to be like Pokemon. That's what it felt like watching this, a Pokemon clone, which is something Digimon has managed to stay away from throughout its years until today. There were some episodes I liked, like the one with Pagumon obsessed with Okonomiyaki, or the Ogremon Ramen Shop one. Hey, I like food episodes, sue me. I thought the rest of the season was so simple because they were putting all of their effort into the big crossover to make it satisfying for fans. So let me tell you how this goes down. First, they show a shadow figure of Marcus and Tai in episode 15. Then a couple episodes later, the two save the main characters and then just fuck off. Yeah, they're like, alright, we'll be back for the finale, see ya. Eventually a Diaboromon shows up and starts merging DigiQuartz with the human world. The kids think they beat it, but it turns into its true form, Quartzmon, and all hope seems lost. Until that mysterious old guy says he has summoned many Digidestined from different worlds who have saved their own world at some point to help out. Then, yep, we see all the main characters show up. Tai, Davis, Takado, Takuya, and Marcus. They show up in Digivolve, a big fight scene happens, yay! However, Mikey gets injured, boo! He can't join in as the new pro tag. But we got Tagiru right here. Mikey symbolically hands him his goggles. Tagiru joins the other protagonists who all turn into a weapon, what? And he uses the power of friendship that transcends time and space to save the day. And then all the Digidestins just go home, show's over. Let me tell you, man, I've seen my fair share of crossovers in my day. In between comic books, anime, TV shows, I've seen a good amount of them. And I can confidently say, this one's pretty ass. I don't know what the problem was, lack of money, time, people not caring, I don't know. All I do know is, when I saw this for the first time, I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset, just disappointed. Like, the first non-main character pairing you show us is Rika and Mimi of all people? I would pay so much money to watch these two interact, what a fucking tease. We see some other characters like Ken and Matt. The only Frontier member that even appeared as a spirit was Tommy. We don't see any other DATS members. Which, look, I get you can't get every voice actor to return for various reasons. But this is animation. Why in the fuck, when we see the other Digidestin fighting, are they in shadow? You couldn't bother to color them in? Sorry, I don't care what the excuse is, that's fucking lazy. You bother to draw all the characters but just fill them with black? Fuck off. There's a part where Joe and Goemon have a speaking role, but they're shaded. Why? If you're not going to do something as important as an anniversary crossover with all the effort you can, then don't bother at all. One thing I think crossovers like this are supposed to have is that epic big moment when all the characters come together to do the thing. And yeah, the pro tag kuns were cool, but come on, how much more epic would it have been if we saw, you know, the other characters? Again, don't tell me they can't do it, it's animation. They don't need to speak, we just need to see them and their Digimon kicking some ass. Also, the main characters just show up so they can turn into a weapon? It's Digimon! And this whole season is called Fusion. That's the theme. Several of the main characters' megaforms come from fusing, and they're all dragon related. We should have got some sort of cool ass Hydra Dragon Knight Yu-Gi-Oh card looking motherfucker. The only parts of this crossover I liked was when the Fusion cast saw Takuya transform and Takato fuse with Guilmon. That was funny. And when the protags put so much emphasis on having goggles. Fuck Marcus, I guess. But yeah, overall, it's just a lackluster crossover, man. It shouldn't have been this way. Third season of Fusion was worse than the other two. At least those told a somewhat interesting story. This one, however, is the definition of a basic kid show. I'd say the only reason to watch it is for the big crossover, but even that sucks. Well, let's hope they pick it up in the next series. Alright, it's currently 11 PM right now, and this is the only time I can record this last part of this video, so if I'm really tired, it's because I am. So technically Digimon Tri premiered before AppliMonsters, but that took like 3 years to finish, and I figured I'd just move it because then we can end everything off with all the adventure stuff. Digimon Universe AppliMonsters was the next TV series premiering 4 years after Fusion. As you can tell by being called Digimon Universe, this is sort of Digimon, except the monsters aren't called Digimon, they're called Appmon. No Digivices again, the digital world is just the internet, and the kids aren't Tamers or even Digidestin. Pretty much a Digimon show with absolutely no reference to Digimon. Well, except one episode, but it was made mostly out of obligation. Also, much like Season 3 of Fusion, this series is very episodic, so I'm going to skip a lot of stuff. Our story begins with the first green gogglehead, Haru, who is more like a side character than a protagonist. That's not me describing him, that's literally how he describes himself in the first 5 minutes. Oh, also, this is the future, 2045, with like robots and AI and shit. He spends his days at the local bookstore so he can see his crush Ai and hanging out with his best friend Eugene. On the way home one day, a vending machine asks him if he wants to be a protagonist, even though we already know he's a main character. I mean, he's got the goggles. Also, this strangely reminds me of Digimon Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory. Anyway, when he answers yes, the not Digivice is dispensed to him called an Appli Drive. When he gets home, he recognizes a strange app has downloaded itself on his phone, and out of it pops the AppliMonster Gachmon. He explains that him and Haru are buddies and that he needs his help to stop something. Before he can finish, another Appmon based on Messenger app starts leaking people's privates. After his crush is embarrassed by it, Haru agrees to help Gachmon stop it. They go to an alternate digital world called an AR field, kinda works like DigiQuartz, an alternate world where Appmon can come to life. Filled with determination and protagonation, Haru uses the Appli Drive and realizes Gachmon. They beat it and the two form a partnership. Next, the two fight a GPS Appmon and Haru manages to tame it. This gives him access to the sort of Digivolutions. It's a mix of DNA digivolving and the fusing from Fusion. He can fuse any two Appmon together, but fusing two or more specific ones together grants Gachmon a new form, his champion level basically. They're then attacked by a Cameramon, an agent of the big bad Gachmon wants to stop, who he calls the L virus, which is the virus making all the Appmon go apeshit. And the thing that created it is a rogue AI called Leviathan. After they defeat an Appmon based on a mobile RPG game, they find out that this one is special. It's one of the 7 code Appmon, 7 special ones that when all gathered together summon some super powerful god Appmon, or something. Gachmon unfortunately doesn't know the whole details, he just knows you get them all, they can beat Leviathan. They also find the special tablet that stores them all at the same time. How convenient. The next day, watching TV, Haru and Gachmon see an AppliDrive belonging to an idol, Eri. She's an idol part of the AppliMonsters 470, an idol group where each idol represents a phone app, and there are 470 of them specifically. They are also run by L Corp, the leading technology company that makes everything everyone uses. Wait a minute. L Corp. L Virus. Leviathan. I'm sure it's a coincidence. The two easily make it backstage on the program Eri is on, and yeah, they just walk through the front door. She also seems not that worried a weird kid just walked into her dressing room. I hope that doesn't get annoying. After she sees Gachmon, she explains she got her AppliDrive 6 months ago but hasn't seen any strange stuff because she has not realized her Appmon because she finds it annoying. She eventually does when the two are attacked, of course, and we meet Dokkamon, based on a fighting game map. I like him too, he acts like a super devoted fanboy to Eri, it's really charming. A few days later, once again, coincidentally, Haru sees his friends watching the hot new AppTube star, Astrida, and in his video, they see an AppliDrive. How convenient. They go to meet him and he introduces his Appmon, Musimon, based on a music app. Oh boy. I hope that doesn't get annoying. After fighting a Clockmon, we learn that Astrida actually lives a strict traditional Japanese family life and plans on taking over his family's tea ceremony school while still being an AppTuber. Neat. How many subs does this guy have? 3 million! Hey, like, comment, and subscribe so one day I can surpass Astrida. And then the world. Haru introduces Astrida and Eri, and I love that the two instantly can't get along due to their clashing egos. After finding a couple more 7 Appmon of Heart, the ones the three collect get stolen by another guy, Rei Katsuda, and his Appmon Hackmon. They of course chase after him into the deep web. Man, if only this video was sponsored by one of those VPNs, this would be a good transition. When they find him, they learn from... Honestly, I forgot who tells them. But they learn that Rei is being the cool loner because one day his little brother was taken from him by Leviathan. After solving some riddle he finds online, he goes to a location to get a prize. Turns out that prize was getting your brother kidnapped. What a ripoff. After fighting disgusting CGI, Rei gives the team their 7 Crystal Appmon back, but he promises he will do anything to save his brother, then he goes off to be emo somewhere else. Okay, so this whole time there's been this super energetic voice that comes out of the AppliDrives every time the kids do something with it. Yeah, that. I didn't mention it because, you know, I just thought it was just a thing the show did, you know? But no, it actually matters to the plot. One time, Haru's mom hears it when he's in his room, and she says it sounds like his grandfather. After searching and following some clues, the gang find an old VHS tape with Haru's granddad named Denimon. No, he's not a Digimon. He guides them to meet Timemon, who exposits to them the deal. It turns out Leviathan was created by Denimon, but originally it was a computer program called Minerva. Why did he make this AI? I don't know, he wanted to fuck around and find out. Also, apparently New Hampshire is in Canada. News to me. Minerva spends its years helping and benefiting humanity. However, a part of its program believes humans are holding it back, and it should fuck around and find out if humans weren't around, she'd probably have more freedom. The part of it that thought this became Leviathan. It deletes Minerva and eventually kills Denimon. This was in 2006, according to the wiki, so almost 40 years later, Minerva, hiding somewhere out in the web, sends AppliDrives to chosen children in hopes they can stop Leviathan. She really took her time. Timemon also tells them that in order to beat Leviathan, they must find the Appmon that will allow theirs to reach ultimate level. And then they leave. Later, when Waffle Inc. is attacked, Haru and Gachmon get the business and almost die. They refuse to give up though, and Timemon, watching this, loves their can-do attitude and joins them. As it turns out, he's the Mon that allows Gachmon to become Globemon, his ultimate form. The other 3 kids get their ultimate levels as well, and even get all the 7 code Appmon. Rei is working with them temporarily to find his brother right now. They find the literal door to the deeper web, and are about to summon the super special Appmon so they can go in and fight Leviathan, but he sends a giant Cometmon to destroy them. Oh yeah, that's hard to dodge. And they summon the super special Appmon, Dantemon, to save them. Okay, that was hilarious. Of course he's fine and saves them and opens the door and gets turned to stone for it. And that's it. His job is done. Seriously, his only job was to open a door. No one can say he didn't do his job. Also, the place behind the door is called Kowloon. Suddenly all that Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's memory footage I've been using makes sense, huh? I planned this shit. Okay, well, I'm not perfect. I couldn't find a way to tie in the Digimon racing footage, unfortunately. So the team goes into the deeper web and then they leave. No, that's what happens. That's the whole episode. Alright, we're at the halfway point of the show now, and you know this because episode 26 is a recap episode. You know I love recap episodes. After fighting a new AppliMonster, the gang is overwhelmed by its power, until surprisingly, who shows up to save them? Eugene. Yeah, the friend I mentioned at the beginning of this. He has been appearing every so often, he just hasn't been relevant until now. He shows up with his partner Offmon. Yeah, he's an Appmon based on the off button. He also has a special AppliDrive called the AppliDrive Duo. When he realizes Appmon, they get a small power boost. That's all it does. There's a whole mini arc about how Offmon can control his Digivolution, and Eugene says to trust him and it's ultimately unimportant. It's mostly just to reinforce how much Eugene is such a great guy. Yeah, one of the reasons I haven't mentioned him is he's just like the likable jock guy and no one knows why he hangs around Haru because he's so cool. Honestly, I wasn't into the fact he joined the team. He doesn't really add anything IMO. Well, that's what I thought until at the end of one episode when Eugene goes home. After that, it goes back to its episodic format for a while. The kids stick around and monster attacks, you know the deal. The only one doing things is Ray, who keeps going into Kowloon to find info about his brother. He even brings food and supplies for Dantemon. This Ray's a stand-up guy. He manages to find a blurry image of something called Boostmon. When he goes to the others about this, Ray seems colder than usual toward Eugene. Also at this time, a brand new president of L Corp is introduced. President, I don't remember his name, he doesn't matter much, it's fine. While Ray does something to progress the plot and continues to investigate Kowloon, the gang is focused on helping Eri enter the top 10 of her idol group, which she does. It's actually a big deal and a great moment, I'll talk about it later. The new president of L Corp invites Eri on a yacht to celebrate this achievement. However, Ray comes back from Kowloon with terrible news. L Corp is working for Leviathan. That's an M. Night Shyamalan twist if I've ever seen one. President Kun also reveals this to Eri, who escapes the yacht as Haru, Ray, and Aster arrive to save her. President Kun reveals the ultimate four super powerful Digimon who make quick work of the gang and even break their AppliDrives, forcing their Digimon to disappear. They're about to be killed, but Eugene arrives, saying he'll hold them off while they escape. Defeated, Haru strangely receives a message from his dead grandfather. But it turns out he's not dead, sort of. Leviathan thought he killed him, but turns out he put his mind into cyberspace before that happened. With the help of him and Minerva, the kids get their Appmon back, as well as their own AppliDrive duos. But oh no, they only have 1 hour to save Eugene or they kill him. Oh no, they beat the Ultimate Four very easily. Not kidding, Ray, Astrida, and Eri do all their fights in the length of one episode. Couldn't even be a fight an episode. Haru beats President Kun as well, and they save Eugene. And President Kun fucks off, never to be seen again. You see why I never gave him a name? He barely lasted 10 episodes. Throughout this, Ray finds out his brother is being held at L Corp. To get in, he goes undercover as Eri's new manager, which is also an awesome episode, I'll talk about it later. They find his brother Hajime, but he has been turned into an Appmon, Sleepmon. Seemingly in a never-ending sleep, Ray manages to wake him up after making the eggs he makes for him all the time. Again, I'm not doing the moment justice with that sentence, it's better than I make it sound, trust me. Hajime then explains everything. The puzzle that Ray was solving took him weeks, but Hajime is a secret super genius and solved it in one day. And that's why Leviathan kidnapped him. He needed to find a smart, so they can make him the Human Application Program, a program that will turn all humans into apps. Because then, when everyone is digital, no one will be, and they can't age, make mistakes, and Leviathan can control them all, everyone wins. Well, losing free will and stuff, but who needs it? To start this program, Leviathan needs Bootmon, which Hajime also made. But to make sure the plan can't go through, Hajime installed an emergency escape program in him, forcing him to run when threatened. It does escape and is in hiding now, and because he defied him, Leviathan turned Hajime into that Sleepmon. So the gang needs to find Bootmon and keep it from Leviathan, otherwise all is lost. But whoa, we gotta put that plot on pause for now. You know why? It's 2017. You know what that means? It's the 20th anniversary of Digimon, so we gotta make an episode about it. This is also the only episode the word Digimon is said, and a Digimon from a previous series appears, Agumon. Is it another shitty crossover? No, it's actually just a cute episode that references Digimon World, yeah, the game. In it, Agumon starts causing different game characters to cause havoc, and Haru, having played Digimon World a lot as a kid, thinks Agumon must have some reason for doing this. So he goes to figure out what's up. The two bond over gamer memories, and then it ends with a cool fight scene with Glowmon and Wargreymon working together. See, this is all an anniversary special needs to be. Just a fun story, a lot of fight scenes, cute references. It's not that hard, guys. After this is another Astra filler episode. The important part of it is during that, Rei says to Haru not to trust Yujin because something just doesn't feel right about him. Haru ignores this, of course, because he's known Yujin his whole life. He can't be hiding anything. The next episode, the truth about Yujin. Oh. Well, we only have 6 episodes left, so might as well jump into it. Kids manage to find Bootmon, and it's at Haru and Yujin's school, but it flies away. But Era and Astra find it and convince it to go to Haru and Yujin so they can help him. He gets there and, Yujin attacks Bootmon, capturing it, forcing Offmon to help him. And Yujin reveals he's
a robot.
Okay, I actually have to admit, that's a pretty good twist. M. Night Shyamalan will be proud. Turns out, since he was a kid, Yujin was a robotic AI made by Leviathan, sent to spy on the family members of Denimon, specifically Haru. Haru takes it well. And by well, I mean his mind and world are completely fucked and spirals into depression. Yujin Borg uses Bootmon to access the last form of Atmon, the God Mode, which is way cooler than Megaform, and he summons the Super God Atmon, Deusmon. With Haru going through some stuff, the other three realize by fusing the data from the Ultimate Four with their Digimon, they can achieve God Mode as well, and fight Deusmon. Meanwhile, Haru is still getting mind-fucked with Yujin 3000 taunting him and trying to murder him. Haru can't bring himself to fight Yujin despite everything that's happened because it's still his friend, but Gatchmon manages to convince him that he's stuck by him and AI all this time, and he'll continue to stick by Haru no matter what. These words stir Haru to keep fighting because he thinks Yujin is still in there somewhere and will not let Leviathan win, and promises to save Yujin and everyone, unlocking Gatchmon's God Mode. Haru shows up to help his friends, but things aren't great. Leviathan has physically materialized in the real world and has begun digitizing all the humans. To make things worse, he absorbs all the kids' Atmon, including Yujin's Offmon. With everything looking dire, the others are defeated, but Haru says he won't give up and he knows that they can beat him, giving the others a second wind. Thanks to the combined efforts of Minerva, Hajime, and Digital Grandpa, if they can get close enough, they can hack into Leviathan and rescue their Atmon. To do this, they climb a huge antenna in the middle of the city, where Metal Yujin shows up to taunt them, but Haru shows it doesn't work on him anymore. Also, I love how Eri wants to fist fight the dude. Did I mention I like Eri? The kids manage to get their Atmon back thanks in part to Offmon holding back Leviathan and asking the other Atmon to save Yujin. Reunited with their Atmon, the kids go God Mode, and with a special power boost from Minerva using the last of her energy, they use Power of Friendship app to beat Leviathan. This breaks his hold on Yujin, who has returned to normal and is horrified because, well, he was built to be a normal kid, even he didn't know he was an AI, so he's also dealing with that mindfuck. No time for that though, because as a last-ditch effort, Leviathan downloads himself into Yujin and runs away into the dark web, with the others following him. Leviathan, realizing he kinda lost this one, tries to convince them that humans are flawed and ruled by emotion, so being ruled by AI is the only answer. They say no, obviously. To prove one final point though, Leviathan gives Haru a choice. Either save Yujin, his best friend, but all of humanity stays digitized, or kill Yujin, but save humanity. The others try to punch him or something, but he says if they move or if Haru doesn't make a decision, he'll just delete humanity anyway. Haru decides, though, to kill Yujin, sadly, knowing Yujin wouldn't want to live knowing he cost the lives of everyone. This act causes Yujin to appear one last time as he presses the button and sacrifices himself. Haru, crushed by this, promises he'll study AI so he can find a way to bring Yujin back one day. Yeah, I cried like a man. I'm not afraid to admit it. Hasty wrap-up. Everyone is living their normal lives like normal. The kids are doing fine, Rei is living with his brother again, Eri continues to be an idol, Astra continues his zap tube while studying to take over his family's school, and Haru is researching AI to find a way to bring back Yujin. And hey, all their Atmon continue to be with them, including Offmon. Gotta say, a really good ending to the show that was kinda mediocre throughout. I love the way they actually killed off What are you doing? No, AppliMonsters, you were doing good, don't fuck this up.
Haru.
I'm gonna pretend like those last 15 seconds didn't happen. I am shocked how much I loved this show. Like, it replaces Tamers as my second favorite Digimon series. Adventure obviously wins out because of nostalgia, but this one was really good because I just had a fun time watching it. The first opening dive is really good, one of my favorites. The second one's okay. The animation, well, it's still a weekly kids show, so it's not perfect, but at times it looks really cool. Except, yeah, you guys saw it during the clips, we gotta talk about it. the CGI Digimon. Not only do they not blend when next to a 2D character, they move at a different frame rate as well. It looks awful, and took me out of fight scenes all the time. I assume they did it to make fight scenes easier to animate, to make them more epic, but it had the opposite effect. Don't do this again, Digimon. Might as well get all the other stuff I didn't like out the way. The side characters aren't interesting. Remember the girl Haru was crushing on? Her only purpose is she gives the kids a secret base. It's like a secret room in the bookstore her dad owns, and even he doesn't know about it. It's like, what? Who cares? One thing I've always hated about kids anime or shows in general are catchphrases. Characters say every episode, you know, to get stuck in kids' heads to buy merchandise. Whenever I watched Pokemon, I absolutely hated it when Team Rocket showed up. Cause you know, they'd say the thing. You know what I'm talking about. There's a fucking car. Digimon has avoided this for the most part, besides maybe sometimes Izzy said prodigious. Here though, they give in, with Eri having her Big Bang Punch catchphrase and Astra saying things are groovy, and I shit you not. They say it every episode they are in, after they're introduced. It's so annoying, I really hate it. The episodic nature of the show doesn't really help it. Sure, some of the standalone episodes are fine, none of them are really bad. Not into the episodic nature either. You probably noticed during my recap, but very often something interesting would happen and it would either be shelved for later or end abruptly so we can get back to the standard. These full episodes weren't bad. I love some of them. It just threw off the pacing so much. I get into the story, but then the next episode it'd have nothing to do with it. And I mean, really besides those things, I really like this show. For one, it's really funny. Like, there are some great jokes. I laughed out loud multiple times while watching it. One thing I think they should have done was take a lesson from Frontier. Never thought I'd say that. They should have went way more over the top with reaction faces like Frontier did. Here they all stay mostly on model, and I think playing with reactions would have heightened the comedy to near perfection for me. Also, that ending, man, like, what was with the last 5 episodes? They were way better than all past 3 seasons of Digimon. Yujin being a robot makes perfect sense. They've been hinting at it since the first episode that something was up with him. Having him be an AI also ties into the ongoing theme of the show, being seeing artificial intelligence as your friends. Hey, it's still a kid's show. It also clicked for me. As I said, Yujin was portrayed as this perfect human being throughout the series, and yeah, it made sense because he was literally designed to be the perfect friend for Haru. Speaking of him, I wasn't into him until the ending. Haru, for a majority of it, is a passive, insecure kid, which is why he calls himself a side character and not a protagonist. By the way, that's not something that only happens in the first episode, it comes up multiple times, including during the finale. If it weren't for that finale, however, I wouldn't care so much about him. As I've said during other series, I like it when my protagonists fuck up or go through some ordeal. And there's no greater ordeal than finding out a big part of your life wasn't real. You ever played Metal Gear Solid 2? Never mind. I loved Haru here after he started believing he could save Yujin. The first time in this show, and honestly since Tamers, where I was actually rooting for the main characters to succeed. Seeing him not give up hope that his friend is still in that crabborg somewhere and showing how his taunting didn't affect him anymore, it was cool. Seeing him have to eventually decide to kill his best friend, especially after he basically saved him, was tragic. I cried like a man. Yes, that last bit does kind of ruin it. No, it ruins it. While I liked Haru, I loved Eri and Astra. Well, most of them. Usually when they do this whole character thing of, oh, you gotta follow the family job thing, it's usually they do it or they follow their own path. I think it's great Astra wants to do both. I think that's a good message for kids that, yeah, you can stick to tradition and make your family proud, but hey, you can also make time for stuff you love. Also, why is this kid still in school? He has 3 million subscribers. Dude is probably making more than his own family. I kinda wish there was more of him in his home life, like his weird-ass uncle or his hot-ass mom. Eri was also a great character. Some of my favorite episodes were all around her, like the one where she tries to be a food reviewer, or the episodes I mentioned before about that idol competition. One of them involves Leviathan's lackey, who I never mentioned, she doesn't matter, sending an evil Appmon based on a coaching app to basically torture her with extremely over-the-top training. However, he sees Eri's determination and admits he's evil, but wants to help her anyway, and she doesn't care that he's evil because she wants to improve. They don't even fight or anything. That's hilarious. At first you see she wants to be an idol because she saw them on TV and she thought it was cool. However, they go deeper into it, showing her mom is working all the time, trying to raise her as a single parent. She sees that she's always tired and stressed, so she wants to be an idol not just to make people smile, but her mom specifically. When she gets into the top 10 of her idol group, and she gets that call from her mom saying she was watching and was proud of her, and she starts crying knowing her hard work paid off, oh god, I love it. Dokemon works off her so well, he's basically her biggest fan. I felt bad for him sometimes since Eri kinda ignores him thinking he's annoying, but she shows she cares sometimes. Very tsundere of her. However, my favorite character of the show, hands down, is Rei. I never thought I would say the cool owner of the group would be my favorite character, but here we are. I can actually understand his pain when Hajime is taken, not just because, you know, it's his brother, but because he believes it was his fault that it happened because he thought he solved the puzzle at the time. It showed how it affects him too, with his house being all trashed and it's all dark, there's no lights on. You can tell he spent weeks in there without moving from the computer. And he's also just a chill dude, not just for what he did for Dantemon, but he can be really funny. Hands down, my favorite episode is the one where they rescue Hajime. Everything leading up to that is probably the most entertained I've been since watching, honestly, Digimon or War Game. Rei pretending to be Aries' manager and seeing the stoic and serious boy interact with the quirky and bubbly idols is hilarious.
できないマネージャーなんて使えないぴょんとなんて。おはようございます。
もうすぐ昼だな。
から早く挨拶しろ。
おはようございます。
おはようございます。
Doesn't stop there though, because eventually he is forced to wear a mascot suit to help entertain some kids, and is supposed to do a lame pose and cheer, and he doesn't want to. Then, it gets kind of heartwarming with one of the idols explaining that even though he thinks what they're doing is stupid, it makes people happy. And seeing kids smile makes all the embarrassment go away. And Rei's reminded of his own younger brother and how he just wants to see him again. Then, the greatest moment in Digimon of all time happens. We've peaked as a species, there's just no going forward from here. Digimon Universe AppliMonsters, while having some problems that bothered me and having really no relation to Digimon outside of the title, I loved it. Every annoyance, there was something that kept me engaged, usually a laugh, and seriously man, that fucking ending, if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be praising it so much. That elevated it a couple levels for me, man. I don't know if this is considered to be one of Digimon's best. I personally hardly hear it ever talked about, but I think it's top tier as far as I'm concerned. If you've never seen the show, go watch it. Oh well, I guess I spoiled all of it for you. Just pretend this part of the video didn't happen. Well, while AppliMonsters was airing around the 20th anniversary of the franchise as a whole, a little bit before that, it was the 15th anniversary of the Digimon Adventure TV series. So for that, they decided to make a new miniseries, Digimon Tri. Originally intended to be a 26-episode anime, they decided to release it as 6 movies, released over 3 years. Yeah, they released one every 6 months from 2015 to 2018. By the time they finished celebrating the 15th anniversary, they announced the movie for the 20th anniversary. Now this is actually the first time I've seen these movies. But Brian, you say, you're a huge fucking simp for Digimon Adventure, clearly keeping it at the top spot despite superior products being released. Why didn't you watch this? Because I didn't care. One thing to get me uninterested in anything is the shtick of it's the characters you remember, but they're older now. They're all grown up and now their problems are more mature. Watch them deal with things like angst and puberty and taxes. And usually when I see stuff like that, they fuck it up because for some reason writers think more mature just means more death and characters being sad. I'm gonna go through all 6 movies, the dubbed version of course, giving my thoughts after each and end with how I think they work as a whole series. Alright, might as well just get this started. Let's start with the first movie of Digimon Tri, Reunion. Our story begins 3 years after the events of 02, and the kids from 02, being Davis, Ken, Yoli, and Cody, have been defeated and are missing. Oh no, that sucks. I hope we find them and save them. We then cut to Tai, waking up and trying to get to school, with the opening playing. What the fuck is that? Is that the opening we have for the dub? You know, the original Japanese has a remix of Butterfly for their opening theme. And we have this. Why do we watch dubs anyway? I also have not even heard Butterfly throughout this entire retrospective. Feels bad, man. Anyway, we learn what all the kids have been up to for the last several years. Not much. Most of the kids are all attending their last years of high school now, with Kari and TK finishing middle school. The only 2 not around are Joe, who's in college, and Mimi in New York. If you're wondering where the Digimon are, I guess what happened was the gate between worlds just closed like a year ago, out of nowhere. And I guess the kids aren't concerned about that at all. Tai attempts to invite everyone to a soccer game he has coming up, but for various reasons everyone is busy and can't make it. On the way to his game, a Kawagamon begins rampaging in the city. When he's attacked by it, Tai's Digivice glows and Agumon comes out ready to fight again. The fight is taken to an airport where we see 2 government agents, Himekawa and Nishijima, who is also Tai's homeroom teacher, begin to gather all the Digidestined. And hey, Mimi even comes home from America.
So the gang's all back together? But wait, are all of them there? Because I have to have enough gifts for everybody. I can't leave anybody out.
Good to see she's still awesome. The team fight the Bugman and send it home. They then find out that Digimon are acting weird because of a mysterious virus going around turning them super violent. Also, there's a stupid subplot about the world perceiving Digimon as monsters, which they are. This also starts a stupid argument between Tai and Matt, with Tai being the one who doesn't want to fight out of risk of hurting people, and Matt saying they have to, or more people will get hurt. Matt is right, this isn't an argument. After some more arguing, eventually an Alphamon attacks a new Grill and her Digimon. Matt convinces Tai to stop being stupid, and they make Omnimon to beat the Alphamon. And the girl introduces herself as Mako and her Digimon as Meikumon. Why do they sound so similar? She even has her own Digivice. And this ends the first movie. This first one was okay, I guess. It's the beginning of a larger series, so majority of it is just letting us know what the status quo is going forward. I will say it does do it very slowly. So concerning animation for all the movies, I think it's pretty good. All the 2D stuff is very nice. The Digivolution animations are weirdly CG and take a very long time. Like, I get that they're movies, but they could have trimmed off like 30 seconds of those, man, I swear. One thing I don't like are the character designs. They do not look like older versions of these characters. I think it's the eyes, man. They are way smaller than normal. Looks kind of similar to Data Squad, I guess. Because they're older, it doesn't look like them, though. The only people I can tell are the older versions are Sora and Tai because of the hair. Seeing all of them in the same generic high school uniforms made me appreciate the designs of kids anime as well. If you make a show about kids in Japan, you have a lot more freedom with their clothes because they don't start wearing uniforms until middle school. No joke, when TK showed up for the first time, I did not know it was him until they said his name. I thought he was just some blonde kid. I wasn't going to talk this much about the designs originally, but jumping ahead a bit to Last Evolution Kizuna, the next movie, look at the difference. These look like grown versions of the characters, I have no doubts about that, so what happened here? They did get a good amount of the voice cast back, with the original voice actors for Tai, Sora, Mimi, and Izzy returning, and the other 4 have new ones. They do a good job. I mean, it would be weird if TK sounded the same, and now he's voiced by Johnny Ichigo Bosch. There were only 2 voices that really bothered me. One was Matt, but that's just because he's voiced by Vic Magnagna, who also voiced Christopher in Digimon Fusion, so considering, he voiced 2 emo blonde boys in the span of like a couple days for me, it kind of jarring. And look, I love Joshua Seth as Tai. He is the character to me. But he's just doing the same voice as when he was a kid. It sounds like the guy's balls haven't dropped yet.
Catchy name. Why'd the wolves break up anyway?
I don't know. Creative differences, I guess.
Creative you?
We'll hear more of Mako later. My thoughts on her now? I don't care that they added a new person. I mean, this is a Digimon Adventure anniversary. There are only 8 human characters I care about. I don't give a shit about these new ones. The 2 government people, they do matter in the story, but if I forget to mention them for some reason, it's because I ultimately find them boring, and I don't think they really need to be here. The plot of the virus thing, I mean, I've seen it in AppliMonsters, but whatever. I don't really care why these characters get back together. I just want to see them again. The whole subplot about Digimon being a menace and the teenagers, being upset about it makes no sense to me. Like, why do they care how Digimon are perceived? If this world was like the ending of 02 hinted at, where now everyone has a Digimon partner and it was like a coexistence kind of deal, then the stuff with the virus would be interesting, but random violent Digimon showing up in the real world is a yearly occurrence in this universe. They acknowledge stuff like Myotismon taking height from terrorists, not to mention the Diaboromon stuff. Or how about those 2 times a bunch of Digimon just showed up all over the world causing havoc? What I'm saying is, this cannot be the first time in this world that Digimon are seen as monsters. This is one of my main problems with this series. It likes to pick and choose what things are canon and continuity just so it can tell the story it wants, instead of working in the constraints of what was already made. Like, it acknowledges Myotismon, but the world acts like this is the first time Digimon have ever attacked. The 02 kids are missing, but no one cares because they're only out of it so the writers wouldn't have to put them in the story. Matt and Tai argue, because that's what they do. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention that argument. It was stupid. Matt is totally right. When bad Digimon show up, they're the only ones that can help because they have Digimon. Remember when they were fighting Myotismon and fought to protect their loved ones and all the other humans? Tai's bullshit. What if someone gets hurt? Like, bitch, people have died before because of Digimon in this universe. Again, this is not a new thing. Hey Tai, remember when you said this?
This is war, Mimi, and sometimes people we like get hurt, so deal with it.
Where'd that attitude go, huh? Okay, I need to stop here. We're only at the first movie and I've already complained about so much. I guess I should say what I like about this movie. Mimi, next movie. The second one, Determination. So the first part of this is pretty boring. The Digidestin, sans Joe, go to a hot spring mostly to learn more about Mako. Also, the government people show up and basically explain they're always watching. Later, an Ogremon shows up with... Aw yeah, these movies just got good again. A school festival is coming up, and Mimi and Mako in the same class work together to do a cheerleader cafe. During this, Mimi tells Mako, hey, stop being so insecure, it's stupid. Leomon arrives and tells the Digidestin that Ogremon may attack again because he's been affected by the virus. So Ogremon attacks again, with Mimi and Mako going to fight it. During the fight, a helicopter gets too close and Togemon accidentally hits it, forcing it to land, which yes, perpetuates more Digi-racism. This also hurts Mimi since she was the one who told Togemon to do the attack, even after seeing the helicopter. Meanwhile, Joe wants nothing to do with any of this Digimon nonsense. He's gotta be a doctor. And Gomamon, thinking he's a bother to Joe, runs away. Mimi and Joe then lament to each other in the rain about their shortcomings, how Mimi thinks her straightforwardness can lead to selfishness and others getting hurt, and Joe about how he wishes he wasn't a Digidestin and having to drop everything to save the world. What a load of shit. During the school festival, the Digimon sneak in and enter a costume contest to get free food. Joe shows up when he hears this to get Gomamon back, but the two fight and Joe angrily storms off. And then, out of fucking nowhere, Ken shows up, and he's dressed as the Digimon Emperor, and he kidnaps Mekumon. And no one cares. No one's like, what the fuck? It's Ken. Where has he been? Why is he the Digimon Emperor again? We need to save him because he's our friend. No, they treat him like he's just some one-off villain they've never met before and try to beat the shit out of him. He uses an infected Imperial Dramon to fight off Gomamon and Palmon, who can't level up because of their Tamers' problems. Kari, interestingly, urges Joe to come back and fight, which he does, and allows Gomamon to reach Mega level. And I guess Mimi gets over her thing too, because Palmon evolves into Rosemon. Oh. Okay, I see what they're doing. They managed to save Mekumon and... Yeah! Oh man, best way to end any movie in my opinion. Anyway, this film was shit. First off, don't care about all the slice of life stuff that happens here, it's pretty boring. Yeah, I like these characters and I'll watch them in any situation. But we're not having these moments for them, we're having them so we can get to know Mako, who despite being new and us not even knowing her, the movie doesn't even focus on her because it's about Mimi and Joe. But here's where I notice why there is all this angsty bullshit now. It's so each movie a different character is going to go through something so they can get over it by the end and achieve their mega evolution. Oh great, that means everyone's going to get a turn. And it looks like for this movie it's Joe and Mimi's turn. So I have like a whole paragraph of me complaining about the characterizations of Mimi and Joe in this movie. I'm not going to read it because a lot of it, as I'm reading it, kind of doesn't make any sense. I think I wrote it when I was really tired. I think I watched these movies at like 2 a.m. or something like that. But yeah, I'll mention them if they're really stupid, but like in terms of these ones, I just thought like, whatever, they were just kind of meh. What I will complain about is why are the teenagers not concerned when they see Ken? Like he's showing up, being all evil, acting like the Digimon Emperor again, and they just don't care. I feel like this should be a priority. But no, they have to focus now on Mekumon, who also too soon to reveal Mekumon as a threat here. Like remember, we still barely know her and Mako, so this turnaround isn't really like, gasp, she's infected with the virus too? It's more like, oh, so she's also infected. Yeah, really not any of these movies so far. Hopefully they'll pick it up in the third one, Confession. Things aren't going too well. Mako is taking the whole my partner is infected thing pretty bad, and Matt decides to ask Himikawa and Nishijima, the government people, what the fuck is up? They don't tell him much, especially the fact that they know Mekumon is the cause of the infection, and that Digidestin around the world are going missing. Meanwhile, TK notices that Patamon is infected. Uh-oh. He hides this from the others, taking Patamon home with him. Oh, they've all been hiding in this digital space Izzy created to help protect them from the virus. Yeah, it didn't work. Eventually, all the Digimon come together, realizing Patamon is infected, and they could all be next. And then again, out of fucking nowhere, Kari becomes possessed again by that weird glowing light all the way back from the original adventure, if you remember that. I sure didn't. Now calling itself... it calls itself homeostasis. This is a show about digital monsters. They're sort of like a god of the digital world. It informs the Digimon that if this infection gets out of control, a great sacrifice will need to be made. Himikawa, who happens to overhear this, tells the Digimon what it probably meant was if Mekumon gets out of control and the infection isn't stopped, homeostasis will eventually reboot the entire digital world. This means all the Digimon, including them, will revert to Digi-Eggs and they will lose all the memories of their partners. What then follows is a sad series of scenes of Digimon spending their last days with their Tamers. Fuck, dude. However, Agumon tells Tai about the reboot, as well as Tentomon telling Izzy. Mekumon shows up again and even digivolves. The group goes to fight it, but TK won't let Patamon since he's infected. Eventually Patamon goes in as Angemon, and his infection takes him over, and he begins spreading it to the other Digimon. And then the reboot starts, making all the others panic. Izzy has a backup plan. By getting all the Digimon into a field of backup data, they can preserve their memories. However, the only one still sane is Tentomon, who manages to get his Mega Evolution, and in a last-ditch effort, he pleads to the other Digimon to help him push Mekumon back into the digital distortion. As the reboot finishes, the Digimon's memories being erased forever. The group, surprising me, doesn't just sit around and mope, as a week later they plan to go back to the digital world to find their partners. They even play Butterfly. Awesome. Also, Mako tells TK Mekumon has been infected like this for 6 years, whatever, I don't care. Himekawa agrees all too easily to help the Digidestined get back to the digital world. They open the portal and head back to where it all started, with Mako showing up a little late. Once they get there, they see two Mega-level Digimon, Jessmon and the Alphamon from before, fighting. This is strange because the digital world should be rebooted. There should be no Digimon above the rookie level at least. The gang managed to find their partner Digimon thanks to one of them blowing Kari's whistle. How'd that stick around after the reboot? It's cute, whatever. The film ends with Himekawa meeting the Digimon Emperor in the digital world, who's revealed to be Genai. This movie was great. It was actually the first one I enjoyed. TK's thing about hiding Patamon's infection makes total sense. Dude is probably still traumatized from the Devimon thing, except this time he knows once Patamon's gone, he gone. Izzy also has a thing. He becomes really obsessed with curing the virus, not sleeping, killing himself over it. It doesn't matter. But hey, that was Izzy's thing. Hey, I prefer to do it half-assed than full-ass. The reason I like this movie the most is because of the Digimon. I haven't mentioned them much, but they've been the best part of these films. Also because they act the same from the series. They only care about spending time with their partners and protecting them. They act like kids. It's really charming. I love the moment when Gatomon, like the only competent one, is trying to explain the reboot to them because they just can't fathom forgetting about their friends.
You don't really understand what would happen if we turned back time in the digital world, do you?
Not at all! They're adorable, man. I love them. That makes the events that happen next hit that much harder. When the Digimon are spending what they think are their last days with their tamers, it's the saddest thing ever. Gabumon asking Matt to play the harmonica for him, and you just see him standing there taking it in, knowing this could be the last time he ever hears it. Like, oh god, I hate it. I love it. I hate it. And when the Digimon are fighting Mekumon, and for that one last moment, they come to their senses to protect the ones they care about and knowingly sacrifice themselves, fuck. I'm so glad too after that, it's just a 5-minute montage of the teens being sad, and then immediately they want to go save their partners with Butterfly playing in the background. This was the first time in the series where I was actually rooting for our protagonist to succeed. Considering we're halfway through, that's not a good thing. Okay, but homeostasis? Really? I said it way back in 02, but to reiterate, I do not care about Digimon lore. And that name, it's... I don't want to say pretentious, that's too much. The name is so... fancy pants. Yeah, that works. Despite the little hiccups in this one, this movie was a banger, and I was excited to see what they were going to do with the last three. So let's move on to the fourth movie, Loss. I'm not making the obvious joke. The first part is cute. It's the Digidestined trying to bond with their amnesiac Digimon, all except Biyomon, who acts like a bitch for no reason. But then you realize there is a reason. It's because it's Sora's turn for forced development. Oh joy. They also find Mekumon, who has somehow maintained her memories of Mako. Eventually they are attacked by a Machinedramon that scatters them all across the digital world. And I'll admit, some of the pairings they do when they get separated are pretty funny. Like when Agumon keeps asking Matt why he doesn't like Tai.
Do you even want to find them, Matt? You haven't said a thing about Tai. It's like you don't even like him.
Next question.
Meanwhile, in the human world, Nishijima tries to figure out where Himekawa has gone. Here it's revealed that these two are actually the original Digidestined. Now, if you don't remember anything about the original Digidestined, Google it. Himekawa has apparently gone nuts as her partner Tapirmon was killed, not turning into a Digi-Egg long ago. So the plan, I guess, was to manipulate Mekumon and the Digidestined and homeostasis so that the world would be rebooted and she'd get her partner back. Who has she been working with? While Hackmon, no, this is a different one, shows up and tells Nishijima he's working with homeostasis and that the real mastermind is King Drazel. Damn, I forgot about Dre. So, well hey, now that we know that it's him, it'll be easy. Tai just calls up Marcus on the interdimensional phone, he'll come and punch him and everything will be solved. Hackmon tells him Drazel also corrupted Genai and plans to use Mekumon's power to destroy everything. Why? Because he's a stupid omnipotent god that thinks all humans suck. That's the little reason he needs. Back in the digital world, Sora runs into Mako, who has found herself in the digital world, somehow. When the two find Mekumon, they're attacked by evil Genai, who still disguises himself as Ken for some reason. He tries to capture Mekumon and takes Sora's Digivice. Ew, the fuck was that? Like, I get it, he's evil now, you don't also have to make him into a pervert. After, the gang reunites, saving Sora, and begin the fight against evil Genai's Digimans. Genai also explains that Dr. Drazel's plan was to trick homeostasis into rebooting, so a new world order would be created where humans and Digimon can't interact. But wait, wasn't the digital portal already closed before this whole thing started? Like, the main characters only started interacting with their Digimon again after you started your plan? You know what? I realize I don't care. During the fight, the Digimon, despite not having their memories, want to protect their partners and manage to digivolve, and with even Biyomon getting her Mega Form. But uh-oh, Pervy Genai strikes again.
I've been waiting for this for a long time. So much is about to happen. Just relax, it'll all be over soon.
Seriously, why is he so rapey? Genai begins torturing Mako to force Mekumon to digivolve out of anger, which she does, ending the 4th movie. And this one was okay. The revelation that Himekawa and Nishijima were the original Digidestined is cool, but spoilers, it doesn't really go anywhere, just forget about it. Like, you wanna know what happens to Himekawa the next time we see her? She's somehow in the dark ocean from 0-2, and then she dies. Sure, I'm glad we wasted 5 movies on her. Evil Genai is dumb. When he's not perving on high school girls, he's just a crazy evil asshole. Like, isn't Genai supposed to be this wise and guiding figure? Wouldn't you think his evil counterpart would be this cunning, intelligent guy that would manipulate the Digidestined? Pfft, that would take effort. Just make him a crazy asshole. Use a fisheye lens when he's giving a crazy speech. Oh yeah, eat your heart out, Joker. Sora's thing with Biyomon is stupid. Like, there's absolutely no reason why Biyomon is acting like such a cunt. Oh wait, I forget. There is a reason. It's because it's Sora's turn. And even better, we get to have a stupid love triangle thing with her, Matt, and Tai. So at the end, they can go, girls, am I right? They're so confusing. Why are we even focusing on this relationship? We all know she ends up with Matt. What's the point? King Drazel showing up is kinda neat that they're taking elements from other Digimon shows. I still don't understand the plan though. You know, this is why I hate these Shin Megami Tensei god antagonists. Their whole thing is just acting like assholes because they think all humans are assholes. So you just wait for the moment when the main characters prove to them, huh, maybe humans aren't so bad after all. This film wasn't the worst, but it wasn't good. Alright, we got 2 left, almost at the finale. Let's see if movie 5, Coexistence, steps it up. Mekumon digivolving, and then she leaves. Okay. It begins spreading the virus again, and Digimon start invading the real world. Meanwhile, Hackmon shows up to Nishijima again, explaining that Mekumon was born from a fragment of AppliMon, the big bad final boss from the end of Adventure. To suppress the evil, Mako was chosen as her partner, and this worked. But then Crazy Lady showed up and made sure that didn't happen. So now Homeostasis says Mekumon is too dangerous and needs to be killed for good. Okay. So Hackmon, why didn't you explain all of this to him the first time you showed up? The teens in the digital world try to find a way back. During this, they give a long and touching pep talk to Mako about never giving up on yourself or your partner, and that as you trust in her, they will save Mekumon. The kids return to the real world and meet up with Nishijima, who hides them out at high school. We do get some fun downtime with the characters hanging out at the school telling ghost stories. Wish there were more moments of the characters interacting with each other like this. But nope, because we gotta go back to the angst, as both Tai and Agumon go to Mako and tell her that if she believes in herself and Mekumon and their friends, then they can save her. Eventually Mekumon shows up again and an all-out brawl breaks out between Jesmon, Mekumon, and the Digidestined. Homeostasis possesses Kari again, telling them to stop interfering and Mekumon needs to die. Teens rightfully say, fuck that and fuck you, with even Kari fighting back, trying to keep it from possessing her all the time. Yeah, that's right guys, tell Homie and Hackmon to shove it, because they'd never kill one of their friends no matter what. So Mako says she wants to kill Mekumon and Tai agrees. They all get their asses kicked though, and during the fight, Tai and Nishijima fall into a crater that closes, seemingly killing them. And everyone seems not that broken up about it, they just stare. Well, Kari takes it bad, being traumatized watching her brother die, which forces Gatomon to Dark Digivolve into Dark Ophanimon, which then fuses with Mekumon, creating Ordinmon. Matt then picks up Tai's goggles, finally living his dream of being the Gogglehead, and rallies everyone to keep fighting. Ordinmon covers the real world with darkness and begins merging the two worlds. Yeah, so anyway, that's where the movie ends. I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's mostly set up for the finale, so nothing much happens, really, and a lot of things I want to say will make more sense once it's all over, so let's move on to the last film, Future. So Tai is alive, Oh, wow, they didn't waste any time with that, huh? Him and Nishijima wake up in a weird facility where, conveniently, they find the 02 kids in a bunch of cryostasis chambers. While they find their silhouettes, can't be bothered to draw them. Nishijima reveals they found out about King Drazel's plan and tried to stop him, but they got bodied and were put in cryostasis. That's so dumb, why didn't he just kill them? Evil Jedi shows up to mug at the camera and tells them that the place is going to explode, but they can send all the 02 kids home along with one of them, as there's one extra capsule left. That's so dumb, why not just kill them all? Nishijima sacrifices himself, sending Tai and the others back, as he dies, regretting that he could never save the one person he cared about the most. Meanwhile, the remaining Digidestined return to the real world to stop Ordinmon. Well, besides Kari, because you know the whole brother dying thing. Hackmon tells the teens that homeostasis ain't fucking around this time, and is gonna force a reboot on everything, even all the technology in the human world. This would obviously be bad, and the teens tell Hackmon to fuck off and they'll save Meikumon. They do this by having Mako lured to the ocean so they can fight it without risk of hurting others. This works, showing Meikumon is still drawn to Mako.
Ken and Yuli and Cody just came back from the digital world.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, fuck off, don't act like you cared. I know you guys forgot, even I forgot about him. Eventually Kari recovers and has a vision of Gatomon, who tells Kari that all light resides in Meikumon. Izzy eventually finds out that all the Digimon's memories were backed up inside Meikumon, which is why it retained its memories. Science, tech stuff, and all the Digimon get their memories back. And this launches Gatomon out of Ordinmon. Then Tai comes back. And, yeah, they kill Meikumon. Power of friendship.
We heard homeostasis finally shut down King Drazel.
Deleted him? You could have just deleted him. This super ultra powerful enemy gets killed off in a sentence. It was that A few months later, Tai calls Mako and him and Agumon declare they will always be friends. What a shit ending to a shit series. My main problem with this is it's so confused. It's trying to do too many things. Like again, they just keep picking and choosing what things to acknowledge and what things are canon just to service their story. Things like the original Digidestined, the Dark Ocean, anything relating to 02. It seriously feels like they just brought back all the stuff nerds keep asking them about at conventions, so they'll shut up about it. But you know what, like, bad characters, bad story, bad film, blah blah blah. I can forgive all of that. If this film, series I guess, had a consistent theme and message. But it doesn't. Remember my subtle emphasis on certain moments? Like throughout all the films, it's constantly showing that Meikumon is good, and is just a victim of circumstances, and that Mako's presence does help. It was only because of Himekawa being crazy that this happened. And throughout the film too, Homeostasis, King Drazel, Hackmon, Evil Jedi, you know the antagonists, all say that Meikumon is lost and it's her destiny to be evil, and the only way to stop her is to kill her. Meanwhile, you have all the main characters, the good guys, constantly telling them to shove it, because they won't kill their friend. And how Meikumon is good deep down and still cares for Mako. So, you know, with all that, excuse me for thinking that this movie would end with the main characters, you know, saving Meikumon and proving all the stupid god people wrong. But nope, these aren't kids anymore.
We're no longer the Digidestined kids.
They need to kill their enemies, which, even that's not a big deal. They've killed plenty of Digimon before. Hell, Kari and TK helped kill Willis' Digimon in the 02 OVA, which was another infected Digimon. Like, this isn't a new thing. Like, it just makes no sense to me. It seems like they were naturally leading up to something like that they were going to save Meikumon and prove all, you know, all this shit's wrong, and Mako is going to have, like, you know, this great moment where she has, like, self-confidence in herself because she's just this nervous wreck the whole time, and she goes and saves Meikumon, you know? But no, they just kill it so they can have some bullshit, gotta grow up and make the hard decisions message. And don't give me some bullshit about, like, oh, they couldn't have done it. This entire series revolves around kids pulling bullshit powers out of their asses with the power of friendship to save the day.
Tai, if you destroy Meikumon, I'll never forgive you. But you're still my brother. And if you think this is the only way, then I'll battle alongside you.
Like that line, it's so fucking stupid. What does that mean? I won't forgive you if you kill her, but I'm gonna help you kill her. That was the line that made me realize they don't care. I get what they're going for, right? A tragic, we won, but not really kind of ending, you know, because, hey, it's tragic, right? Despite the best efforts trying to save their friend who by birth was designed to destroy, in the end they have to come to terms with the fact that they can't save it, and they have to deal with the ultimatum that if they don't kill her, the rest of the Earth will die. Wait a minute. Yeah, this ending pissed me off more since I watched it after AppliMonsters, which is way better with Haru and Eugene. You know what this felt like? It felt like the bad ending to a JRPG. That's what it felt like. And oh my god, I was so mad. It ends with the Japanese voice cast singing Butterfly, and it's meant to be this, oh yeah, we just went on another adventure with these characters moment. Yeah, fuck you, you don't deserve that. Well, yeah, I knew this was coming. I said it before, they already announced the 20th anniversary movie, a singular movie, thank god, after Tri finished. So how is Digimon Last Evolution Kizuna? Fucking rules. Kizuna Last Evolution follows our Digidestined all grown up for real in their early 20s. While most of the group have their lives on track, Tai and Matt are still trying to figure shit out, while also dealing with Digimon that show up from time to time. This is until a presser from Columbia, Menua, who studies Digimon, arrives and lets the team know about a new Digimon, Eosmon, that is going around taking the consciousness of Digidestined around the world, as well as their Digimon, and she needs their help to fight it. When Matt and Tai go to fight it, the Omnimon fusion for the first time just defuses itself out of nowhere. When they get back, a strange light has appeared around their Digivices, and Menua tells them it's a thing that happens to all Digidestined. When a Digimon's potential is fulfilled, and they have no more room for growth, they just disappear. So the film mostly focuses on them coming to terms with this change, not just with their Digimon, but their lives. That is until it's revealed Menua was the one that created Eosmon, and has been trapping all the Digidestined minds in cyberspace with their Digimon, so they can never grow up and lose them. Yeah man, I don't have anything but praise to give this thing. The animation and music are top tier. Menua as the villain is okay. I like more what she represents rather than who she is, if that makes sense. When she lost her Digimon at a young age, she never stopped trying to get her back, constantly trying to remake or find its digital code, eventually creating Eosmon. I love villains who are so twisted that they think they're doing something good. Makes them way more interesting than just being an evil asshole. You can sympathize with her a little bit too. She does want to help, but her obsessiveness has blinded her to how fucked up her plan actually is. That brief moment at the end when she's beaten and she sees that Eosmon was actually made of bits of from her partner Morphomon, and she realizes what she's actually done, like, amazing, loved it. The fake world she made is great too, the kid characters are so fucking creepy. Focusing on just Tai and Matt works here instead of everyone gets a turn. Being the two who don't know what to do with their lives, losing their Digimon is that one push they need to decide on what to do. Fuck you, man. That moment when Matt plays the harmonica for the last time, and Agumon and Gabumon ask what they're gonna do tomorrow, then they turn back and it's a hard cut, they're fucking gone, and there's no music or sounds, it's just them crying. Fuck off! Like, that destroyed me. I love it. I didn't even mention the 02 kids are in this, and they actually do stuff, and contribute to the plot. Yolia's in it, and she's hot as fuck. God, I can't wait to see what she looks like in that 02 movie. Oh, and yeah, I can't wait to look at it and watch the plot and characters, and God, she's awesome. Now, yeah, there were some things that bothered me, but that doesn't matter because this movie was very tightly written and delivered emotionally and has consistent and relevant theming and message that a lot of people can relate to, so who cares about the bad stuff? It was good. Losing your Digimon can mean having to grow up, dealing with loss of a loved one, or really any change in your life. I jokingly said I'm excited for the 02 movie. I'm honestly not. I'm probably not even going to watch it. As far as I'm concerned, this is the ending to the Adventure Kids, even for 02. Like, I don't want any more of them. I realize what I'm saying, I know what's next, I just don't want any more of these characters specifically. Hear me out, Bandai, Toei, whoever makes these decisions, okay? You're already making the 02 movie, I think that's a mistake, but alright, fine, I'll let that pass. Let's not do Tamers, okay? I've seen what you try to do when you're trying to be all mature or dark with Tri, like, you can't pull it off. And let's not bring the original guy who wrote Tamers back until he gets over that whole, you know, social commentary thing. What you should do is remake Frontier. How instead of going back and adding to the things people already like, let's fix the things people are really, about. Like, come on, they can't possibly fuck up Frontier or Data Squad, right? God, I hope that quote doesn't come back to haunt me in 5 years. I'm getting off topic. Bottom line, Last Evolution Kizuna, Kizuna Last Evolution, whatever. Top tier Digimon product. Honestly, might put it as my second favorite Digimon thing under our war game. If you like Digimon, watch this movie. You probably already have at this point. Well, I just said I was sick of Adventure, and what do they do after releasing multiple movies about growing up, dealing with change, and moving on? They remake the original series it was based on. Irony is not lost to me. Yeah, I got no real intro for this last series we're looking at. It's the original Digimon Adventure again. Let's take a look at it. Oh yeah, I am going to keep referring to everyone by their English names. So it's Kari, not Hikari, okay? Just deal with it. I'm trying to be consistent. Our final story begins with the return of the OG Gogglehead, again, Tai, preparing to go to summer camp. While he's getting ready, his new neighbor Izzy comes by, who's also going to summer camp. However, the two see on the news that Tokyo's electronics are getting fucked up. Tai, realizing his mom and sister Kari are on a train going haywire, the two head to the train station to... I don't know what they think they can do to help the situation, but it's a cool selfless act for our main characters, so who cares. On his way there, Tai is suddenly transported to the world of the internet. There he sees a wounded Kurumon, and after saving it, he gets a Digivice, allowing Kurumon to become Agumon, and the two begin fighting some Agumon that attack them. Izzy also gets a Digivice and uses it to tell Tai that he has figured out the Agumon are what's causing the city's electronics to go haywire. After Agumon evolves into Greymon, they succeed in beating the Agumon, saving Tokyo and Tai's family. But Izzy says, it ain't over yet, as the Agumon are still around and have hacked into the US military and are planning to launch nukes. That escalated quickly. Then Matt shows up. Alright, I'm going with it. Matt and Garurumon decide to team up with Tai and Izzy to stop the Agumon. They get their asses handed to them, and Izzy tells them the missiles have launched and are aimed at Tokyo. Back in the human world, we see a little blonde boy and Kari come into contact with Feathers. As the two boys in the digital world refuse to give up, a light shines and their Digimon fuse into Omnimon. 2 episodes in, okay? The two premature power of friendship and manage to save the day and get spit back into the real world. Izzy and Tai remembering they gotta go prepare for summer camp. At that summer camp, Tai introduces Izzy to Sora, his childhood friend. Yo, look at my girl's new fit with the sideways cap, bro? And then cut to after summer camp. When a Digimon egg hatches somewhere and becomes Aizmon, once again fucking with electronics in Tokyo, Izzy sees this and he and Tai agree to meet up so they can see what they can do about it. Izzy estimates that all electronics will stop functioning after 72 hours. Tai, on his way to see Izzy, runs past Sora, who follows after him. All of a sudden, Tai is once again transported, this time to the digital world proper, and reunites with Agumon. So all that I described was the first 3 episodes. They essentially did the War Game movie and introduced the series proper in the first 3 episodes. Continuing on, Sora finds herself in the digital world too, and she is pretty chill about it, honestly. Even meeting Agumon, she's like, huh, dog and dinosaur, that's not something you see every day. Izzy contacts Tai, saying he's in some other part of the network and has found his partner Tentamon. Izzy says he'll find a way to meet up with them, and Tai's Digivice shines a light at a rainbow mountain, indicating they need to go there. On the way, the kids encounter a Biomon that Sora befriends, and after they are attacked, she gets her own Digivice, and Biomon digivolves. Also, they get rid of her sideways cap for the one she's always had. I mentioned it because I liked the sideways cap. Tai and Sora make it to the mountain, where a Voldermon tells them that long ago there was an ancient war between Digimon of Light and Not Light. Good won, but bad is coming back in style, and they are told they are part of a group of Digidestined who are meant to save the world. They're instructed to find the other Digidestined as well as the 2 holy Digimon in the Cloud Continent so they can stop Big Bad. The evil Digimon is Devimon. Spoilers, I guess. On their journey to the Cloud Continent, Sora and Tai run into Mimi and Palmon. Mimi continues to be the greatest character in all of Digimon. After recruiting her, they also meet Joe and Gomamon. The group then run into Matt and Gabumon, and after infiltrating an enemy fortress, they find information that Devimon's forces have already captured the Holy Digimon, so they gotta save them. The kids are then attacked by the first ultimate level Digimon, Metal Tyrannomon, who runs all over them, forcing them to retreat, with even Tai and Agumon being beaten pretty badly. They gotta move fast though, cause now this great threat of Metal Tyrannomon is after them, an unstoppable force that they can't hope to beat. Nah, just kidding, Tai gets Metal Greymon immediately and bodies him. When a dark swamp is in their way, the kids see 2 paths ahead, but don't know which way to go, so they split up. Finally got all of them together for the first time, but okay. Oh yeah, they're going this way because an Ogremon that Tai and Agumon kinda had a rivalry with saved them and told them to go this way because that's where the Holy Digimon are. I didn't mention Ogremon because, well, the payoff isn't good, I'm not mentioning him again. What follows are episodes of the rest of the kids getting their ultimate levels, so I'll talk about some of them later. Just know Mimi's is the best one, though that should be obvious by this point. Eventually, the group of Tai, Izzy, and Mimi suddenly find themselves in Tokyo again. However, after exploring, they realize things aren't quite normal here. Turns out they are still in the digital world, and this is a replica created by Aizmon, the cause of the electronics going haywire in Tokyo. Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Izzy had realized in an earlier episode that time moves slower in the digital world, so they had plenty of time. However, I guess Aizmon hacked time, and now time runs at the same pace between worlds, and Tokyo is on its 3rd day. This is when Joe, Sora, and Matt show up and manage to beat Aizmon. Psych! All good bosses have second forms, and it digivolves into Orochimon, thrashing them. They retreat, and while licking their wounds, Matt tells Tai he has a personal stake in this battle because his brother TK lives in Shibuya and could be in danger. After recovering, all the Digidestined team up and manage to distract Orochimon while Metal Greymon kills it, and the kids save the day. Psych, because the 10-minute countdown activates and Orochimon gets revived and digivolves into Nidhoggmon. Meanwhile, back in Human Land, Kari and TK encounter the mysterious feathers again, allowing Omnimon to form again. Really? Twice? They beat Nidhoggmon and save the day, for real this time. However, a strange portal opens up and Sora, Joe, Izzy, and Mimi are sucked into it, with Tai and Matt left behind, being shielded by Omnimon. That's when Devimon shows up to them for the first time. He was Eismon's master and tells them he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for these meddling kids. Izzy contacts the two saying they have somehow winded up back in Real Town, but their Digimon are missing. Tai and Matt, with no way to go home, continue to look for the Holy Digimon, while the others try to figure out what they can do on their end. Tai and Matt run into... oh baby. I hope you go out in a blaze of glory, my friend. Dead Cat Walking informs the two that Devimon's forces seem to be transporting some precious cargo, and after an attack on the Digimon transporting it, they open the cargo revealing it's TK, to Matt's shock. They are attacked again, and after attempting to save TK, the group get beaten pretty badly. But TK's cries for help summon Angemon, who is restrained somewhere. He makes quick work of everyone, healing the heroes, and reverts to a Digi-Egg. Before they can celebrate, Skull Knightmon shows up and steals the Digi-Egg for Devimon. Some stuff happens, and Tai, Matt, and TK end up at Devimon's fortress, where he is trying to turn the Digi-Egg evil. But they manage to save it, and the egg hatches into Poyomon. However, Devimon shows up, and you should know how this goes by this point. They fight him, he beats them, he gets a power-up, making it seem hopeless. Friendship, they beat him, he gets revived somehow, gets powered up again, and beats them. It's the usual rhythm we all know and tolerate. Eventually, all the evil miasma surrounding the kids infect Tai and Greymon, who go total apeshit, attacking DDM. However, he eats Tai. This causes Greymon to Dark Digivolve into Mugendramon, causing him to... Oh yeah, I should probably mention what the other kids are up to during this, since they are doing something in the real world. It's pretty boring. Calimorimon from Frontier is like hacking tankers around the world, forcing them to crash into each other. But to also make sure they are involved with the plot, they're also trying to stop some Algamon from sending energy to Devimon. Fucking weak. The only thing that happens is during this, Kari shows up saying she found them because she heard someone calling her, and then a huge light engulfs them. Where was I? Oh yeah, Dino is evil, but TK's Digimon uses good vibe energy and returns him to normal, allowing him to beat Devimon and save Tai. The next episode has Leomon back, but he's not dead, so I don't care. And then Matt and Tai run into the others, who have been brought back to the digital world somehow, along with Kairi. God. I call her Kairi. I'm actually shocked that out of this whole video, that is the first time I actually accidentally called her Kari. Alright, Kairi, god dang it. Before they can ask how the fuck, Dark Knightmon, it's Skull Knightmon's other form, shows up and attacks. He kicks everyone's asses, but Patamon digivolves into Angemon, and the two fight so hard a blast of energy sends everyone flying. Despite all of Tai's efforts, Kari is taken by Skull Knightmon, although what's interesting is she willingly goes with him. Tai takes this well. I don't even mean that as a joke, this time he actually takes it well. He's just like, ah, that sucks, time to go save her. Before then, he saves some goons in the forest by getting his Mega Digivolution. Yeah, that just happens. The Bestmon, Lopmon, who was a part of the Digimon Tai was trying to save, says in a past life he was Cherubimon. Wait, Cherubimon? Ancient Prophecy. Legendary Heroes. This is just Frontier again. I can't believe they did it. They actually remade Frontier. I was saying that as a joke, but they just slapped an adventure skin over it, hoping to trick stupid nostalgic adults. Unfortunately for Bandai, Toei, whoever, I figured out what you're about, and I'll play your game. Let's see what happens. So Lopmon tells definitely not Takuya and Zoe that the thing they fought all those years ago was a Digimon called Millenniummon, who was close to resurrecting. He also confirms that Kari is the 8th Digidestined who's partnered with the 2nd Holy Digimon. Unfortunately, Skull Knightmon took her to the site of Millenniummon's revival to sacrifice her, so we gotta stop that. On the way to save her, Tai and Sora went into TK, and the three make it in time to save Kari, who reveals why she was so willing to go with Skull Knightmon, because it turns out he was a corrupted Gatomon. Now Kari is an official member of the Digidestined. The kids' new goal is to find each other again and make it to Faga. That's the location where Millenniummon's biggest fragment is and where he will be revived. On their way there, Gatomon lets Kari know that she feels uneasy being around everyone since she used to be evil, but Kari reassures her that no matter what happens, she'll stay by her side, giving Kari her Digivice and Angel Woman in that crisp HD. Oh, and there's another subplot about a satellite falling. It's really boring. After this long series of episodes, the kids meet up again eventually, but none of them matter in the grand scheme. Episodes I thought that stood out, Mimi's of course, she's for workers' rights and abolishing slavery. Preach, girl! A really fucked up one where Gabumon gets crucified and is going to be sacrificed in a dark ritual by a Mephistomon? That comes out of left field. Joe has a fun part in it though. Izzy befriends this Garbagemon scientist who becomes a reoccurring character. That's important. Edamon returns, but he's not Elvis, so I don't care. Mimi's awesome in that episode though. And Matt gets Metal Garurumon. The story picks up again with Angemon and Devimon backstory, of all things. Angemon starts seeing visions of him and realizes he used to be a part of him. Devimon was born when Angemon went through a moment of great despair after the Legendary War. This dark part of him splintered off and became Devimon. Angemon, with TK's help, manages to accept his dark side and digivolves into Holy Angemon. The group makes it to Faga, where the Vademon, servants of Millenniummon, send out a Mugendramon to attack them. Yeah, the same Digimon Greymon Dark digivolved into a while ago. Mugendramon manages to beat them all, but Tai never gives up, and manages to beat it with some holy power. However, Mugendramon has a failsafe and fires at War Greymon and Tai and blows up, seemingly killing them. While the kids are getting over that shock, the revival is in place as eventually a Chimeramon starts turning into Millenniummon. Don't ask me how that works, I did skip a step. While the kids fight the transforming Millenniummon, Mimi, in a touching scene, tries to console Kari after Tai's death, continuing her legacy of her awesomeness. Of course, Tai comes back, and after friendship, Angelmon and Angemon digivolve to Mega. They defeat Millenniummon, and it's Digimon, you know they never defeat anyone first try. So it comes back as Zed Millenniummon. All the Digimon lend the Digidestin, mostly Tai, their energy, and he's Spirit Bomb of Friendship's Millenniummon, and the kids win. Seemed like a pretty definitive ending. There's 17 episodes left. The Garbagemon I mentioned earlier contacts Izzy and tells the group about a tree coded in technology. They go there and meet Wisemon. He tells them, of course, Millenniummon was not the real threat. Everything that's happened from the nukes and Algamon in the beginning up to Millenniummon were foreshadowing the Great Catastrophe. To combat this, the kids must go on their separate ways to find out the secrets of their crests to unlock ultimate power. What follows are a mix of episodes, some of them do involve the kids unlocking their crests, while others are just filler. The main problem is, despite the kids going their separate ways, following where their Digivice is pointing, for some reason, Tai shows up everywhere. The kids will be in the middle of their own story and he just shows up. He doesn't even do anything, he's just there. Like, how does he find these guys all the time? Does he have instant transmission? Other than that, standard procedure from here, half they get their new forms, half fluff. The only episode I remember off the top of my head in this one was the one where Joe and Mimi fight pirates. Love it. During these episodes, Tai runs into the Algamon, and after some good old-fashioned kid torture, they warn him of the arrival of their master. Tai is also told by the spirit of Valkyremon about the power to defeat the Great Catastrophe. A being called Omnimon. Never heard of him. Alright, it's time to end this. All the kids get a distress call that the data tree is under attack by a Deathmon. Took them 25 years to finally use that, I'm kinda shocked. During the fight with it, the Angel Digimon achieve their true final forms of Phanimon and Seraphimon, and they destroy Deathmon. They actually destroy him too, he doesn't have a second form or anything, he's gone. However, he was just a part of the Great Catastrophe, and the true bringer of destruction arrives, Negamon. The kids go into a hole in the sky that Negamon ripped open that's consuming the digital world. Pretty soon, he starts doing the same to the human world as well. You know what, we're at the end of this, you all know how this goes, let's just start wrapping this up, huh? The kids get their asses beat, but friendship lets them summon Omnimon. Would have been way cooler if this was the first time we saw him. Nega digivolves into another name, but they use the power of something or other to do the something to get. And now we are here. The final Hasty Wrap-up. All the kids return to the human world, but their Digimon actually coming with them. That's cute. Except for Tai, who stayed in the digital world. Kind of like Marcus did. And I guess his mom was okay with that. And that was Digimon Adventure 2020, another mixed bag, but I think it's the first one that actually has more good mixed into it than bad. The opening is really good, I like listening to it every episode, and I am so glad it's not just a remix of Butterfly. I was very scared it was going to be just that. I think I like the first opening from AppliMonsters more, but that might also be because I like that show more. This is by far the best animated Digimon TV show. Yeah, it doesn't look great all the time, but I find a lot of the fight scenes and even the smaller atmospheric moments amazing to look at. I especially like the backgrounds. Some shots like Tokyo at night look really cool to me. The story of DA 2020 is Unfortunately, the show likes to have its fair share of filler episodes, especially in the latter half. Weekly it was probably better, but I can tell you, watching episodes back to back, it feels like the story is moving at a snail's pace. This definitely did not need to be 67 episodes. There are plenty of episodes they could have cut. There are some I wouldn't watch again, but there isn't really an episode in this show I would call bad. In fact, some episodes I thought were really good, probably some of my favorite standalone episodes in all of Digimon. Yes, most of them are Mimi episodes, but that's besides the point. Not much to say about the antagonists, a lot of them are evil forces that the kids have to stop, don't get anything more than that. Stuff with Devimon and Angelmon once being a part of each other I thought was a really interesting take on that. It's very underwhelming though, because we learn about this 22 episodes after Devimon is defeated. So by that point I forgot about him and I didn't care. That's what I mean by the story feeling lackluster due to all the standalone episodes. By the time things connecting to the ongoing narrative happen, I forget about him and stopped caring. Also, why did the show need so many final boss-esque characters to get... Can you guys hear that train? Also, why did the show need so many final boss-esque characters to get multiple forms? I'm pretty sure every time they think they beat a bad guy, they come back in a second form. Once again, padding it out. I don't like Tai. This Tai falls into the Mikey Tageru school of protagonist, meaning he's a generic shonen. In fact, 2020 Tai, I argue, is the most shonen of the shonen protagonists. This dude's Digimon not only gets multiple forms and evolutions, but he gets them, I shit you not, every time he gets them, he simply just screams, "I won't give up." He never really goes through any real challenge or ordeal. Also, this is a problem I have with a lot of characters as a whole. A lot of them don't react naturally to things. Whenever a character met Digimon in a past series for the first time, the kid would naturally freak out, because, you know, they're meeting a talking ballsack. All the characters here, when they meet a Digimon, they're like, huh, that's weird, and continue on like it's a regular day. Tai especially doesn't react normally to most situations. When Kari is kidnapped, he's like, aw man, well, time to save her. When he's literally being tortured, he doesn't scream in pain or cry or anything, he just grits his teeth. Remember way back when I said watching a character cry helps me relate to them? Tai 2020 is the antithesis to that. He never makes mistakes, so I disassociate with him. He's just a drawing to me. I never felt worried about him because I knew he would always win. And like I mentioned before, this guy is fucking everywhere. He's in every episode, and everything always revolves around him. You'll get sick of him naturally. Izzy is a socially awkward nerd. In this series, he seems to be more aware of his social anxiety. When first meeting characters, he often hesitates and introduces himself very quietly. A lot of his episodes revolve around him learning to put less trust in technology and more in his own natural knowledge. I like this version of Izzy fine. As someone who is also a sack of social anxiety, I feel his pain. At this point with Izzy, I should mention we don't get a lot about these characters' home lives in the show. Usually that's a detriment, but thankfully the show does something right and gives the characters episodes in the digital world to show off their personalities. Izzy is one of those characters I feel might have benefited if we did see more about his home life and how he got like this. Let's not talk about what ifs though, let's talk about what we got, and what we got is a good character. However, the first one I think that actually improved on what came before is Sora's. We get to see a lot of her selfless, almost motherly instincts. Whenever the group runs into a Digimon that can't defend themselves or clearly needs help, she instantly wants to do something about it. She even has a mini arc where in one episode when Sora and Tai are helping with a construction project around a volcano, long story doesn't matter, Biyomon gets injured in a fight, and Sora thinking she's doing something good does all Biyomon's share of the work and tells her she's fine on her own. Biyomon interprets this as Sora not having trust in her anymore after getting injured. And Sora has to come to the conclusion that she shouldn't do everything on her own and has to have trust in others that want to help, because they care for her safety too. I think this is a very good way to break down her character and was something I was not expecting, especially since this was episode 52. But yeah, Sora, I think she's the first improvement on what came before. Matt and TK are kinda meh. Matt I would describe to be like Tai, just moodier. He does get the weirder episodes, like the Gabumon one I mentioned earlier, seriously, what the fuck. Most of them though I found were boring, or if anything interesting was happening, it was about the characters he interacted with, not with Matt himself. Definition of cool loner. TK is Digi-Jesus. Well, half of it. That's really all I have to say about him. Most episodes that focused on him were more about Patamon or Angemon in his past. TK was just support. Much like the original, he was fine, could give or take him. Might as well talk about the other half of Digi-Jesus. Kari does get a bit more in this series. There's a good episode where she tries to help a Pedrodramon that I think also serves as an environmental awareness episode. It's good, so who cares? And an episode where she tries to prove she can take care of a Digi-Egg that has some good themes of new life overcoming death. Again though, her actual character isn't explored much. When Tai seemingly dies, you can tell it hurts her, but kinda similar to our Tri version, she just sits there, she doesn't really cry or freak out. Now that I think about it, Jerry and Tamers had the most natural reaction to someone dying in front of them in the whole series. Gatomon gets her same I was evil once thing, but it's less impactful here because they solve it in like an episode and it never gets brought up again. But now, we get to my two favorite characters of this show. One should be obvious. but I never thought I would say that Joe is one of my favorite characters in Digimon Adventure. If I compared him to anything, it would be Usopp from One Piece, a character I also really like. Joe is a spineless coward that likes to pretend he knows what he's doing and constantly refers to himself as the leader. That makes those moments when he actually steps up and puts something behind those words all the more meaningful. Like in an episode when Sora comes down with a strange case of Digi-Frostbite, Joe surprisingly says he will distract the Digimon coming after them so Matt can get her some treatment. And when Joe is cornered and can ask Matt for help, knowing Sora needs him there to take care of her, Joe, despite being terrified and outmatched, tells him he doesn't need any help. My nigga. Why doesn't he have the crest of courage? That's just one example, of course, there are many others, but that one specifically stood out to me. Of course, he's also freaking hilarious, has some of the funniest moments in the series, and he bounces off all the cast expertly, like a regular comedian. Of course, though, his best combination is with the greatest character of all time, the heart and soul of this whole fan-forsaken franchise. Mimi. Mimi-chan, President Mimi, whatever you want to call her, she fucking rules. This is my favorite incarnation of this character. When she's not being the most sympathetic and emotional core of the group, she's being hilarious, or standing up for workers' rights, or just being adorable. I'm not gonna say any more, just you wanna know how awesome Mimi is? Go watch episode 12, Lilymon Blooms, and episode 37, Mimi-chan Wars, my two favorite episodes, and the only reasons you need to love Mimi. Of course, there's also episode 60, which is the one where Joe and Mimi team up to fight pirates, and Ty's barely in it, you know that's one of my favorites. I don't really have to analyze her character because if the copyright gods are kind to me, then here's a bunch of my favorite Mimi clips.
何か投げ込んでみるってのはどうかな。僕の参考書。もうペイロもクワガーモンも大嫌い。聞こえたみたいだな。ごめんなさい。でも大嫌い。助けたいのね。偉い。私絶対に許せない。たくさんの宝石を独り占めなんて。意外に大変だったわね。頑張ったわ。いや、穴掘って頑張ったのは72番。懲らしめておあげなさい。俺たち？重大な発表があります。これより太一さんを我が社の運送部長に任命します。他の意味もあるの。それはね、仲間。アミーゴでやるの。ごほん姉ちゃんアミーゴハラペーニャ。俺がブリンプ本の頭キャプテンジョーだ。あっちゃミミ君。先輩あとよく聞け海賊。キャプテンジョーがいる限りこのブリンプ門に指一本触れることは許さん。
Digimon Adventure 2020 is weird. For everything they do that I disagree with, they do something amazing that I would never think of. I don't think it surpasses the original for me, or even AppliMonsters, but it's definitely become one of my favorite Digimon series. I'd watch this again. However, the series isn't perfect, because unfortunately it commits the ultimate sin. The thing that can't be forgiven no matter what you do. It can be as good as you want, you can have as much Mimi in it as you want, it can be as funny as you want, it can have as much heart as you want. The fact is, at the end of the day, Leomon survived. No, I realize I have to end this, but I figured there's only one way to end this retrospective. A hasty wrap.